Well, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Got a great broadcast lineup for you this morning. Got an absolutely amazing broadcast lineup for you this morning. So we're going to kick this thing off. But before we do, I got to say good morning to my brother from another mother, but we got the same father. This is Captain Leonard. Good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, Raheem and the Morning Glow family.
Man, we got some stuff going on today. We got have a guest scheduled to be in here around the top of the a little bit after the top of the hour. We have a guest that should be coming in and sitting and talking to us a little bit. But Leonard, I got an issue.
Okay.
And I need you to help me with this, Leonard. I got a friend of mine. I worked for 10 years and I think you know this
Uh huh.
in the state of South Carolina for the Department of Corrections. I worked there for 10 years. And I have a lot of friends that still doing that. And when one of my friends called me the other day, and he said, "Man, I'm about to retire." Well, he worked at the Department of Corrections, then he went over to the federal side, and he was returned from the federal side. And he said, "Man, I'm about to retire."
Hmm.
I said, "Okay, well that's good." As a man, he said about to retire, or he just retired, or whatever. And the thing that, and we got a caller. We heard you. We're going to come to you in just 1 second. But the thing about it, his issue was he said, "Man, I'm just getting tired. I'm tired of it." I said, "Why, man? Is the job getting rough?" He said, "Not necessarily the job." He said, "But he just getting tired of a lot of the inmates that's in there." He said a lot of time they look at him as the enemy. He said he never been the enemy, and he's a good guy. Like I said, we used to work side by side, and we were a couple of ones that was there that never disrespected anybody or treated them in any kind of harmful way.
Hmm.
That's just not how we. Now there was some that did.
Hmm.
There was some that did, but we were, it was a few of us that didn't. We tried to get them with all the respect that they so rightfully deserve. He said, but what his issue is, and he spoke to me about it. He said, "Man, they look at me like I'm the enemy, like in his words, like I put them there and stuff like that, and they looking at me like I shouldn't be able to come out here and get a job and provide for my family." He said, "This is the work that I do, man." He said, "That's how I provide for my family." So, Leonard, is he wrong in feeling bad, or should he even feel bad, or even listen to them guys telling him, "Man, you just like the enemy, man. You quote unquote, you just like the white man. You ain't no better than the white man. He is trying to provide for his family, man. He didn't tell anybody to go out there and commit crimes. He didn't tell them to get locked up and whatever the case." So, what is your take on that, Leonard?
Somebody's opinion is just that.
Mm-hmm.
It's their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
With that type of job, that is what should be expected.
Mm-hmm.
That
So he
comes
should.
with that
Mm-hmm.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now,
Okay.
you have to realize you dress like the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You were within the leadership structure of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
have an inordinate amount of power over them.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, of course, we know, have abused their authority.
Yes. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
he's not being treated this way because of his personal approach to his job,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes with the program.
Mm-hmm.
If you got on the Lakers jersey, I assume you play for the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, good point. Good point. But see, his thing was, and I can understand what he's saying because, like I said, I worked there for 10 years, and they said it to me too. They said it to me too. But a lot of time that kind of wavered away when they interacted with me and stuff like that. And no, man, I ain't here to treat you bad, man. I'm not.
Right.
I'm here to do my job, and that's what I'm here doing. And since when I left that profession, if you will, when I left that profession, I've seen several people that under the category of inmates on the outside, and they all everyone I ain't seen nobody that talked to me bad or treated me bad or whatever. And I've seen about three or four of them, and they all came up, shook my hand, gave me a hug or something like this. One guy, man, he was sitting in a car, and he got I might have told the story. Was going to play tennis this particular day, and he got
Hmm.
out with a friend girl of
Right.
mine was going to play tennis, And he got out the car, man, and came up and he told, explained to his friend, had a friend with him, explained to his friend, man, this dude here, man, blah blah blah. He never, he never put me down, never talked bad about it, and all that stuff. Shook my hand, man, and gave me a hug and everything, man. The girl that I was with, she at first she was scared because the way they got out the car, but I kind of pushed her behind me. I said, yo, what's going on, man? Because I didn't recognize the guy, man. There was so many in there, I didn't recognize him, and he explained who he was and thanked me for the way that I treated him. So not everybody in there is there to treat them bad. But Leonard, I know some of them guys in there, man. Some of them officers that's in there, man. It's like they get off with treating them bad, man. I'm like, man, why you do that, bro?
And these people need to be exposed and
Mm-hmm.
removed from this. This is why we work so hard to expose these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, when we have deaths in jails, or we
Mm-hmm.
have individuals that contact us about being treated poorly,
Mm-hmm.
we go and we gather the facts.
Yeah.
And sometimes the third party oversight is excellent
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
really, at the end of the day, you have some people who are just mentally abusive,
Yeah.
mentally and physically abusive. And when you give them an inordinate amount of power over another human being, whatever it is that's motivating that person is
Mm-hmm.
going to come out. And having been involved in several Department of Justice complaints against correctional officers and folks
Mm-hmm.
in law enforcement, it is absolutely necessary to curb this behavior, to remove and punish individuals that take advantage of folks that are incarcerated.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because you have to
Exactly.
think about it. The prison industrial complex is one of the last remaining, uh, uh, I would say, last remaining strongholds that still participate in slavery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you are the proverbial white man, then you are the enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. My brother Pete, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Doing good this morning, sir. How you doing?
Big brother,
DKM
good
Radio
morning.
panel, listening audience.
Hey, doing good, doing good. What do you think about that situation? Should he feel bad, man, for getting the job or getting that job to provide for his family? Should he feel bad, Pete?
He was a CO.
Yes, yes.
No, it's just a job.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a job. Now, how you do the job,
Yeah.
that might be an issue, but it's just a job. It's like the
Mm.
police.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing a job.
Yeah.
We frown on them when they act like I am the police, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You're just on the clock at work, man. I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Deflate all the superficial nonsense. It's just simply performing the task. That's all
Yeah.
you're doing. You have a
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. Now you have a grave responsibility. It goes into extremes for sure. Because I mean, how many people have a job where they go to work and the first thing they engage is human hamburger meat
Mm-hmm.
from some
Mm-hmm.
horrible car accident or something, an explosion, or somebody that got shot up and cut in half, and they got to go over there and deal with that. So I mean, that's an extreme job,
Yeah.
but it's just a job.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
just a job. So the way people conduct themselves, it's just like any other job. You have a rugged, ruthless manager, then that's the atmosphere. That's what it's going to be. And you may have an excellent manager and have one employee who's a hooligan. The management has to identify that and root that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. Now again, these are extremities. You talking about a CO in a prison or a jail, let's say prison. Well, if you're an untoward acting CO in a prison, basically, you asking for it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Just let me be honest with you. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a matter of time
Mm-hmm.
before you gonna get what you got coming to yourself.
Yeah.
You're either gonna get it inside or outside.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
again, nobody is untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
And I'm
So you can play this highfalutin game if you want to and act like a terrorist while you in there. And when you come out, you and your family end up dead in a ditch somewhere.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And see, it's amazing you say that, because like I said, I've seen several of them while when they got out, when they were released, and I saw them on the street, and I always get the same reception. Man, they always come up to me, shake my hand, or give me a hug or something like that, and thank me because I never treated them bad or anything. But they say they point out certain individuals. They say if I see this one or if I see that one, Ajime, they call you by your last name. They say if I see that one now, they say look at him, man. They might be coming to get me again, because I used to talk to him. I said, man, why you doing that, man? I pulled him to the side, man. Why you treating that cat like that, man? What's going on? What's going on? You ain't gotta, yes, there's an issue, but you ain't gotta treat him like that, though, man. No, man, gotta make an example. You ain't gotta make no example out. You ain't here to make no example.
They have to. You gotta understand that in the prison, you have to maintain control, right?
Yes.
But control is a real thin, fine line, because really you're not in control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, just in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
The power structure in the prison will turn on you real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
So that's a real fine balancing line that you have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just in prison whenever they get ready.
Mm-hmm. And see, the thing about it, the one that I worked at a medium maximum institution over there in Colombia, and we had some rough dudes in there, man. We had some rough dudes in there. The truth of the matter. And one day, it came to a head, man, and the whole compound was a lockdown, because the inmates was taking that, man, they ain't going for no more. They was gonna take over. They was gonna take over, man, and it got ugly. It made the news and everything, man. But as I was going through, a few of them like, hey, Ajman, come on, man, come over here, come on, it's good to get rough, man. I said, nah, I'm good, man, I'm good. I ain't going over there with you, man. Nah, ain't we all right, but I don't know what's in your mind, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna stay myself right here and open, where I can maintain myself, you know what I mean? But
it's been my experience. I haven't done that before, that particular profession, but I have some real close partners or family members that have. And when you're honorable, when they see you as honorable, I've had one relative, he was in a full-blown riot, and they actually put him in a cell to protect him. Ain't nobody bother.
And that's what they was telling me.
And they wouldn't let nobody. And I'm talking about they tore the whole. They probably had like 10 or 15 people killed, and a couple of cars. I mean, it was a disaster. Burned up half the. I'm serious. He's sitting in the cell. They ain't letting nobody touch him. Because he conducted himself a certain way with them inmates. He did his job.
Yeah, exactly.
But he didn't go too far. He knew how to tote that line, and they actually protected him in the middle of a full-blown riot.
Yeah. And like I said, there was a film. They say, Osman, come in, man, come on, get in. They was gonna, I guess, hire me or whatever. I don't know what they was gonna do, man. But I said, no, I'm good, man. I'm good, because I didn't have, and truth of the matter. I don't care how good you act or what you. Somebody not gonna like you for whatever reason. People. There was people that did not like me, not because I did them wrong, or they just did not like me, my person. And so, Leonard, I don't think there's a way to get around that. What you say?
Well, it's no different than, say, for instance, how I conduct business in corporate America as opposed to my peers. As a manager of people, I have a very different approach. However, I was not always a manager. So when I made that transition to management so soon, so young, a lot of people decided to pit themselves against me simply because of my title.
Yep.
And craft and union, and craft and management should never be friends. That type of mentality is what you call the culture of the organization.
Exactly.
So sometimes when you go in and you're talking to human resources with different companies, you have to look at, okay, where are the majority of your complaints? What are your employees most concerned about? Is there a collective bargaining process? So it's going to take a lot in the prison industrial complex, for the very simple fact you're dealing with people who are criminals.
Yeah.
There are certain guys that go to jail. They're great guys. They just made mistakes.
Exactly.
They're human beings, and I'm pretty sure a filthy individual is just as filthy outside as inside the prison.
Yes, sir.
A decent guy that goes to jail for making a mistake himself is introduced to a culture when he enters the prison system, which is why we would hope that most young people would be deterred because of this, knowing that the law enforcement is the last stronghold of the opinion that slavery is okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have to remember I believe the 13th Amendment provides for a certain amount of treatment for people who are incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being looked at very heavily now because of the way people are being used and the abuse that they're being subjected to. You've been through the training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Exactly.
teach you to respect inmates.
Mm-hmm.
Did they? I'm asking.
No.
No,
Truth of the matter, no.
no,
Truth of the matter,
no.
no. No.
Why not?
Because their training was they are the enemy. Don't get too
Ex-
close to them. Don't they're the enemy.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're being trained with this mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and the individual is already convicted of you, who knows what crime? This
Mm-hmm.
may be a murderer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have different people with different issues that affect how they behave. And sometimes you have to use that authority to bring order.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that it can be done in a very humane way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that leadership needs to really check them. The issue with most of officers who abuse their authority is because of poor leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you there's very few leaders in law enforcement who have walked out and told certain members, you know what, we shouldn't kill unarmed people.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
probably not even considered it
Yeah. At all.
because they believe that they have a right to kill whom they choose
Mm-hmm.
because of that authority that you gave them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking over a particular Supreme Court case as it relates to qualified immunity, and this is the issue: why do you need qualified immunity in the first place? You're already the law.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
already there to do a certain job.
Exactly.
So the whole notion of qualified immunity almost seems like it gives you permission or creates in the law enforcement individual's mind that they're above the law.
Mm-hmm.
And where there is no punishment, animals will be animals.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Badger, good morning. How you doing this morning?
It's another beautiful and blessed day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You've been listening to us, brother. What's on your heart?
I mean, I've done the bits and pieces I know about like gels and things like that. There are some good ones in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yet there's also those that I swear they only got the job just so they can belittle other people. The
Mm-hmm.
stroke that I'm better than you attitude.
Exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And see, and those are the ones really that need to be on weeded out. Those are the ones that need to be weeded out because there's no place. I've seen things. And we got another caller. Call. I'm going to come to you in just 1 second. But I've seen in going to work one day, and I'm gonna give y'all the quick. I'm going in to work. It's 3 o'clock. I'm going to my shift. We did our briefing and everything, and I'm going to one of the rough dorms. And as I'm walking across the yard, and everything's supposed to be locked down, but there's a guy running towards me, man. And I remember his name and everything, man. It's almost like I can see his face still to this day. And when this situation happened, he was running towards me, and the closer he got, I could tell, something wasn't right because he was coming toward me, and he was running. And when he got up close to me, Leonard, when he got close to me, man, he had his hands cuffed in front of him, in front of his stomach, and his whole guts was in his hands, man.
Mhm.
Somebody done try to gut him, man.
Right.
And
It's prison.
can you imagine running into going into a situation like that? Man, I had to immediately go from where I was to now. Now I'm in that moment. Now I'm in that moment. So I was like, yo, and I started yelling. I said, yo, sit down, because I knew if he kept running, he gonna bleed out, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, sit down, sit down, sit down, and I called his name. I said, sit down, man. Got him a walkie, and I called for help, man. And everybody came out, got the ambulance, and he made it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a story behind. There was a prison story behind that. I ain't gonna get into all that. But yeah, man, that's just one incident that I've seen, man. It's real inside them walls, man. It's real inside those walls.
Well, that's a completely different type of population behind the wall.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
you're not operating in an environment where everyone has the other person's best interest at heart. You're just
At all.
not. It's
Mm-mm.
called prison.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, it's very difficult for law enforcement to maintain sometimes in prisons. Like one, if you listen to a lot of things that are going on with lockdowns and riots and all these types of things, this is a very dangerous situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
people who
Yes.
have
Yes.
some of them have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
One
Exactly.
dead guy is all law enforcement, is just another dead law enforcement officer.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know? So then you have those other guys who are taking the responsibility, convicted criminals that take the responsibility to be peaceful, to
Mm-hmm.
encourage peace amongst
Yep.
inmates,
Mm-hmm.
to try to get people to survive that experience.
Yep. Exactly. 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 Man, is man, I can tell you some stories. Like I said, I was there for 10 years, brother. So it's some stories I could tell you about what happened inside those walls. Let me go to my call. We got another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? BP.
Oh, hey, no, absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How
How
you
you doing
doing?
this morning?
I'm good. I'm on babysitting duty.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We got a guest that should be in a little bit, man. We got a guest that's coming through this morning. They should be here in a few minutes. But we're talking about the prison system right now, man, and how real it is inside those walls. Man, I worked there for 10 years, so I know. I was, and some of the things, in truth of the matter, some of the things as a correctional officer, I would never see. I would never see. But some of the things that I did see will blow your mind, brother. What's on your heart?
I didn't. I was law enforcement in the Air Force, but I worked correction for a season.
Mm-hmm.
But military prison is not the same as civilian.
No.
Most of them guys are pretty tempered, and they gonna do what they gotta say, so they don't get in no further trouble than they already in. But my brother-in-law works. He works for the feds down in Ocala, Florida, and he tells a story all the time about stuff that happens in prison. I mean, it's crazy because I don't see myself working watching other grown men, but God birthed some people for that. God bless them for that. The stories he be talking about, they be peeing on, like he don't get peed on, but there's at times they'll be walking. He works the shoe.
Yeah.
Mostly. So was it special housing unit?
Yes.
Yeah, so he works the shoe where your troublemakers go, or
yes,
ones
sir.
that need to be solitary. So he told me this one story that there was this older man in there, a lifer. So lifers, lifers are different than those who actually got sentence term, which you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Different.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess his lifer, this is during the COVID testing, so they would have to go get them mandatory tested, and this guy didn't want to go do it. So this guy, inside his shoe cell, I don't know, between the times of them doing their rotation, he done took a massive dump. That or he's collecting it or something, he was saying. They went in there to go get him, and he had covered his entire body.
Yep.
In duty.
Yep. And they do stuff like that all the time. Yep.
Yeah, and then you have to make him turn around, get handcuffed, and because he wouldn't want to get cuffed, now they have to go in. So he's saying he's mad because the dude played them against their game, because you got to rush in there and grab him. He's covered in duty.
Yep.
Handcuff him and get him out the room. Which causes a balance of, because depending on who the person is, some guys do that just to try to officer so he go back to general population, and then cause a riot in the general population.
Exactly. And
it's a different system.
It's totally different, man. And they're lucky because a lot of times what they'll do, they'll store the urine or the feces, and they'll throw it at you, man. They'll throw it at you and on you if you ain't careful. And you walking through ain't got nothing to do with nothing, man. It's just because you're there, they'll toss it on you. I seen this nurse, man. She was going to giving the meds one day, and one of my buddies he was with her, and she got it, man. She reached down to give him the med, and they got the little small little window, little flap door right there. She reached down to give him the med, and she caught it right there on her face, man. I was like, wow, man, why you, and I asked him, I said, man, why you let her get that close to the door? You know, my man, he had a history. I said, why you? And this same dude, man, this is the same dude, man. He'll eat glass and spit blood at the window. You know, you had your flap closed. He'll be chewing glass and spitting blood at you, man. It's a different world, brother. Pete, what's on your heart?
It goes back to also the fact that we left corrections and went to warehousing.
Mm-hmm.
If we were still focusing heavily on corrections, you know, we may have a touch of a different atmosphere. Let's remember, this is prison.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about prison.
Yes, sir.
Even the jail, but definitely prison. You in there, a lot of folks are in there innocently, so we definitely have to get that disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that are there justly, it's a reason you're in here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you couldn't function in society, so we had to put you in here. Your behavior, the things that you're doing, you know, and violent crime.
Yes.
You know, a person that has a strong propensity to easily result to extreme levels of violence.
Mm-hmm.
Will kill you.
Yes. Yes.
With their first response. I mean, if they don't have a weapon, they'll grab you and choke the living life out of you. I mean, whatever they have to do to actually take your existence away, and they're determined to do it.
Yeah.
That's another level.
Exactly. Totally.
But you know, again, if we were focusing more on the correctional side, that would require some extreme levels of mental health. Okay. And then the outlets to deal with the individual issues, to try to work them into a situation where they can correct some of these behaviors and hopefully come back out and function, you know, acceptably in society. That's the challenge.
Exactly.
Now, when we look at the prison setup in the United States, with primarily a high focus on minorities, so-called minorities in the penitentiaries, but the penitentiaries are located downstate in areas that tend to be populated with one group. And they tend to be heavily employed in the industry. So then now we already have thrown in another factor, another perspective right away. So, you know, this is the reality. But it's a bigger notion of predatory mindset. Do we want to invest in our people, or do we want to continue to prey on our people? We cannot accept wrong, dangerous behavior. We can't do that. But we definitely want to understand that corruption don't start from the bottom. It starts from the top. And it starts from the top.
Exactly. And the way they used to claim it or deem it as a rehabilitation center, who go in and come out rehabilitated, or is it a revolving door? Annie, good morning. Annie from Mississippi, good morning. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. I called to apologize for yesterday. I have been so, oh my God, I can't even put in the words what I'm going through right now.
You okay?
I have a full-time job, and I'm a full-time student, and my mind is being everywhere, and I actually forgot to even come on.
That's okay. Actually, we didn't do it. We're gonna do it later because I started writing some stuff, and I got caught up in my writings, and time really got away from me. So we didn't do it. So we're actually gonna plan that one later. But what do you think about the rehabilitation center? Is people rehabilitated in our prison systems?
I don't think so, Raheem. You know, this world right now is in a place where I don't even recognize it anymore. There's so much going on, and when people, especially in Mississippi, when these people go to prison and they come out, it seems like they're attracted to something that make them go back in there again. And I've been watching documentaries on television on IG and how people can be so fortunate to get out of long sentences, and when they peel and they finally get out and become free again, how they be so ready to kill or to do another crime or even worse crime and to go back again. So I don't think anybody's being rehabilitated at all. I don't know. Yes, I do. The answer for everything is Jesus. The answer for everything that's going on right now is our nation have walked away from its first love. That's why we are where we at right now. This little town I live in, Meridian, have become so violent.
Wow.
It's like Chicago.
Mm.
And once upon a time, we could, not be so on our guard and so nervous about going to the grocery store. But now it's like it's just crazy. People don't care. These young boys, they don't care nothing about your life, and they will snuff you out in the broad daytime. They don't care about your neighbors seeing them breaking your house. They'll go up in there anyway. We had one young guy that broke into this lady's house, and the camera on her phone showed her that he was in her home at work. And when the police got there, he was still in there. He pulled a knife on the police. They in the woman's house, breaking in. They killed them. But you want to fight the police as if you have a right to be up in here.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. No. So my answer is no. No one is being rehabilitated. I don't think so anyway.
And good. That's good. And you put a lot of great points out there. And one of the things that I wonder about is, and Pete said something about it earlier, the mental state of a lot of these individuals. What the mental state? Are they mentally competent? Because something got to be wrong with you to be in somebody else's house. Police come and you want to act as though you're supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be there, bro. You're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong. So, Badger, what do you say to that?
And not only
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And not only that, Raheem, here's the thing that really took me for a loop. The people, the mother, went to the police department with some signs, got some people to walk with her with some signs trying to say that the police was wrong for killing him, shot him 10 times. She never even talked about the fact he was in the house breaking in. Why was he there? And see, that right there, the parents, many parents, a lot of things these children are doing, and I've always said this, many of this stuff is going on, it's the parents' fault. But you uphold these children when they little boys growing up, when they toddlers, and you laugh at what they're doing, and you stand by their drama, you stand by their mess, and these little boys become full-grown men and become full-grown criminals, and you still standing behind them. As if your child's a freaking Boy Scout. He ain't no Boy Scout. Why is he in another person's house breaking in the first place? And then she told the chief of police, she said, you shot him too many times. Doesn't matter. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Why was he even in there? But see, the parents uphold these children, and we always stand behind our children, stand behind them in their wrong. I never stood behind my kids in their wrong. I would call it what it is. I've always called it what it is, and I let them know if you're wrong, you're just wrong.
Now, let me ask you a question, Andy. Are you mad?
Am I mad about what?
No, I thought you was mad, boy. You was going in like you was mad, boy. Yeah, I said that's my sister right there.
No,
boy.
I mean I'm passionate about it because we don't understand. We like to put it on the system done this and the system done that. We understand that. We get that part. We know that there are criminal police. We know all that right there. But it starts when the child is growing up.
Yes.
When the child is growing up, like I heard somebody say one time on here, I think it was Frank. Somebody said, what do you want the finished product to look like? So when you raise a child, you got to think long term. What do I want this young man to be in life? I got to, to make sure I shape him right now while he's, able to be shaped. I shape his mind right now. So when he gets 21, he won't be going out there doing what he want to do. He will always remember, to be a young man and work for what you want and not breaking people's houses. So it starts when the child is young, not when they get 15. Not when they get 35, it starts when the child is young.
Exactly. That's good.
And you raise them the way you want them to be.
And Badger, what's on your heart, brother? Talk to me. And she's absolutely right, man. It's all in the raising of the children. Because if they are 5 or 6 years old in the store and they steal a piece of candy, you got to address that at that moment. But go ahead.
I mean, that's one of the things, I've kind of commented on many times. Like, yes, we have a corrupt system. Yes, we have corrupt cops. Yes, we have a lot of corrupt things across the board.
Mm-hmm.
However, what about the community?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if your neighbor is beating the tar out of the women and children for absolutely no reason, or the woman's beating the guy and the kids, because that does happen, even though people don't want to talk about it, are you just a bystander? Are you just going to
Mm-hmm.
sit there and watch? Or are you actually going to try to do something? You know, the growing up with a community where people watched each other's backs, they helped each other out, they would watch each other's kids. Everyone knew everybody. There was
Mm-hmm.
no racial anything going on. If you acted like an idiot, you were an idiot. It didn't matter what color you were. Is how I grew up. And I guess I was one of the lucky ones because going from that to Houston, Texas, where everyone has ego problems and selfish and self-centered and you name it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it finally started to dawn on me that most of society is in this selfish mentality and has
Mm-hmm.
forgotten that it takes a community to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, parents can do the best that they can, but if they go to school, like public schools, and they're sure and teachers are letting them do whatever they want and everything else because they just don't know how to be stern with kids and making sure they do what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're with the grandparents and the grandparents don't do anything. Yes, I do agree. Parents do have a huge role, but also does the community. When they go to to a basketball court or baseball field or to the park, are they going to see drugs around? Are they going to see people getting shot? Are they like
There's a lot, huh?
I'm also
Yes,
trying
sir.
not to get up on a soapbox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because growing up how I did gave me a beautiful vision of what could be.
Mm-hmm.
And then going from that, living in a couple of different areas and seeing different transitions, you know, even on the streets, there was respect. Like if you were known to be someone that primarily did respect, you were treated with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Nowadays, you could be the most respectful human being walking down the street and someone's going to shoot you for $2.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow.
You know, I this current society is really confusing. And he goes, yes, there are still some places where they do the respect and honor system, and then there's others that literally just, to me, has no logic outside of ego and
Mm-hmm.
greed.
Exactly. That's the truth. That's absolutely true. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We love to have your input. Rico, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Man, grand rising to everybody, man. How y'all doing?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Rico, we're talking about, we started out, I got a friend of mine, I worked for the Department of Corrections for 10 years, and I got a friend of mine, we worked together for a while. He went over to the federal side, and he's about to, I don't know if he's retired already or he's about to retire, but he called me and said, man, I'm tired of it, man. He was telling me how how a lot of the inmates would always say that he's the enemy. That he just like the police. You might well be the police, quote unquote. You just like the white man. So and they trying to make him feel bad for having a job and providing for his family. Should he feel bad for having that job or for providing for his family? What do you say to that, Rico?
Well, it shouldn't feel bad, but that just goes to show you the impact that it has on a person mentally
Mm-hmm.
and emotionally when they get in that predicament. Like, he might be looking at a lot of people that look like him, and it feels terrible to hear people that look like him say those things when it's untrue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he could easily be like, man, I don't care what y'all saying. Y'all locked up in here. Y'all prisoners. Look where y'all sitting at.
Mm-hmm.
But he sees the humanity in them. So, therefore, he knows some of the opinions of some of those people might actually affect him because he built a certain type of respect for them while he was in that job. See, like you said earlier. Everybody in there ain't acting like a zoo full of monkeys. Some of those people that not actually in there reform, not supposed to be there, or trying to actually get out of there and do something better with themselves.
Exactly.
But they have to play by the rules. And even when you playing by those rules, just like we were saying yesterday about Vegas, what goes on in prison stays in prison. You know, I had buddies used to call me and tell me about guys that did certain things with each other, and they kept it between each other. So when they got on the streets, it wouldn't be told that they acted in such a manner. So they wouldn't mess with the normal little fruity guys that ran around. They had their own little dirty secrets.
Wow.
Then they come home and act like they don't even know each other. You know what I'm saying? Besides, when they bump into each other, they act friendly. And yeah, we was bunkies. Yeah, y'all were bunkies and you were too.
Yeah.
But see, it's a culture. You know, and some people have to conform. They are forced to conform. It's it's lawless. So therefore, you are either taught then that you can conform and learn some type of structure or organization in now to survive, or you can continue with what got you put in now and be the best at it. And that's why you find some people that don't mind going back. But you know, Annie said something deep earlier. You know, that's where I'm getting ready to go up to this courthouse again and see what these actors pretending to be district attorneys gonna do today. But she said something about the youth and it's starting at home. And then Badger followed up with that about the community. And they took words out of my mouth because as I was listening, I was going to call in and mention the same thing. I think I've said it once before on this show. It's terrible when you can see at the age of 6 or 7 years old when a young man is going to die or be in prison at an early age.
Wow.
But you can see it. When you see their surroundings, you see who their influences are. I've seen children at 4 or 5 years old. I knew they didn't have a chance when I seen how their mamas and daddy was raising them not to be men, but to be bullies because they didn't want them to be the bullies. So they would sit back and watch them do wrong and turn a blind eye as long as they had the advantage. Or when they were after they realized they had raised these little monsters to be who they are, then they have to defend it because if they admit and accept that their children all this terrible, they're stealing, cussing grown people out, then they have to admit that hey, this behavior went on and it was allowed somewhere. It's a reflection. So you know, I see your topic. You know, what I'm saying later on is going to be about being loyal. But you know, when you start talking about prison and the culture and you know the ways of life, another bad thing I'm seeing is this thing we talked about yesterday: street degrees. Some of our codes in the streets come from codes in prison.
Yep.
And we condone it. And you know, that's really some things that have come out of prison. I think may have made sense depending on what the purpose was. As far as helping the rights of human beings. You know, you have some people in prison that study and they become activists and start organizations, nonprofits, you know, and then you have some that just bring the culture out like slacking. You know, different rules that pertain to prison, then all of a sudden they want to bring it out into the streets. And so, you know, when you talked about street degrees yesterday, that sort of reminded me too about some of the codes in the streets. They actually come from the prison.
Yeah, exactly. And it does. And there's see what people don't understand, Leonard, is and I had to learn how this thing worked when I was doing things inside the prison. There's a pecking order amongst the inmates. There's a pecking order, and it's almost like they had to set up almost like a military type thing where you had your corporals, your sergeants, and there was that type order, and there was one general, and the general, you know, you had to go to certain things weren't gonna happen if you didn't go through that general. It just wasn't gonna happen, and so there was a structure there that, you know, if you sit back and look at, you know, wow, if y'all could do this right here, y'all could do things on the legal side and capitalize on it on the legal side, so you ain't got to worry about this. What do you say to that, Leonard?
Well, you know, people have different attitudes as it relates to it. You know, people are who they are, and that's the behavior that they should be judged on. And you know, I don't, in these types of, I don't have a lot of empathy at all when it comes to certain things because it's not necessary.
Absolutely.
And I can treat you just as just and fairly as you treat everyone else around you. However, you have already proven that you have a problem with the norms of society.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And you have found yourself convicted of a particular crime and incarcerated.
Exactly.
And you're not here because for some other reason other than that. I know a lot of people believe they didn't do it and they're not guilty and they this, that, or the other. I'm sure you're not.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But for some reason you couldn't prove it. So let's understand this. I can treat you just as well as you treat me. We never have to have a coarse word between one of us. Even if I was a prisoner, I would more probably have to wind up in solitary confinement. Because the moment you approached me a certain way, I would probably try to kill you.
Wow.
Because that is just the way it is. You're going to try to kill me. We have that clear. Killers are like that. They don't care about you.
Yeah.
It's like, say, for instance, people talk about the streets, the streets, the streets. Well, you know, that's your opinion. The streets was fine with me because I wasn't trying to be on nobody's side. I was minding my own business. Like I say, I'm just trying to pass through. So if we got into it, it's because you tried to keep me from doing that. There isn't a man that can come and say that I have treated them unfairly.
Okay.
Because I don't even get into that whole thing where, like, say, for instance, we're assigning certain value to certain situations, and this guy may not have had this or whatever. If I was a law enforcement officer, I really wouldn't care about that particular thing. That's not my job. My job is to maintain order in that facility. And you don't even have to
there's different levels. There's also different levels to that, though, Leonard. There's different levels to maintaining the.
Well, it doesn't seem like it. Because they have so many problems there with how it's being done. So there is an issue on how people are treated in the correctional facilities. And so we know that. We know certain people's approach to certain things. Like you said, you gave a good example of an individual that did not want to cooperate. Smearing feces and things all over themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can keep holding his hand and pretending like one day he's going to be a better guy if you would like. But it does not seem he has any regard for your safety whatsoever. He basically assaults you every time he sees you. So you're sitting there worried about how he feels. There's a way that we don't even have to kill people, man. We don't have to kill people or have these types of issues if we just change our perspective and govern accordingly and police accordingly.
Exactly.
You know, but a lot of times we have people that get into situations and the guards are just as corrupt.
In some cases, yes.
They're just as corrupt. And the system takes advantage of these people.
But like I say, I have to do this, right? And I have to say this. We can't paint with such a large brush because there's some that's not. There's some that's not. There's some that's there for good reasons if there's any such animal.
There is no good reason.
Well, to provide for the family, to provide for their families. And
you mean the people working?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're there for the right reason to go in there and provide a livelihood for their families. And this is the path that they choose to do that. Yeah. Like my friend said, man, I don't think that he should feel bad that he selected this source of way of making an income.
Right.
I don't think he should feel bad.
Profession. And a lot of people take those jobs as well to be a positive influence. And you can tell it in their character.
Yeah.
You can tell it how inmates treat them. I've been walking through prisons with people, talk with jail commanders and things like that. And they're just as interested sometimes in trying to find, okay, what can I do to reduce the violence? If I'm sitting with a Department of Justice complaint and I got 10 of your officers in violation, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And it takes work to resolve those issues. So I'm more into let's do the work to help resolve those issues. But we do also have to accept the prison system has those people there for a reason. This is why they even have certain levels of security. There's a certain amount of trust extended to certain inmates because they have proven themselves to be worthy of responsibility and that they can be trusted. So there are ways in there to prove yourself as not being, quote, an animal or behaving like an animal.
That's good.
And those people are there, like you say. Some people just make a mistake, bro, and they wind up in jail. But your whole, and jail has a certain effect on certain people. But there's a lot of brothers come out of jail straightforward, learn their mistakes and everything, and don't want to return. So in that case, they may have met a Raheem. Like you say, that one guy who was incarcerated bumped into you. And what he remembered is how you treated him. He didn't talk about everybody else. He remembered how you treated him.
That's good. That's good. Let me do this, man. Let me give the phone number 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Phone lines are open. I want to say hello. We got a gentleman just said hello to us. Greg. I want to say his name right. Gregoos. Well, I just call you Greg, but he's saying hi from France. He's actually watching us right now in France. And so, hey, Greg, how you doing? Good to have you, brother. Definitely good to have you. And like when I tell people we broadcast in 58 countries, they don't believe me. But here's another example right here. Greg, he said hello from France. So there you go. That's a part. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. We have a very, very powerful young man is going to come over here and talk to us in a second. We're going to get everything set up. We're going to get him in place. We're going to actually play a song. I'm going to play a song while we get everything ready for him because this young man, he's doing some powerful things. And I'm so honored that he took the time out here and speak to us today. His busy schedule. He got so much going on, man. He's juggling so many different balls. He's doing so many great things. And so that he took the time to talk to little old me, man, and all of us, man, it's an honor. And so I want to say thank you right now. Even before he come on, I want to say thank you. And let me play this song. What we're gonna play? Now Leonard, we ain't playing no
hip-hop. Don't play no funeral music.
Oh Lord, see, y'all see what I'm up against, right? Y'all see?
Hey, he better turn that elevator music on.
As a matter of fact, I am gonna play a little jazz. I'm gonna play some.
Jazz is cool.
Okay, Kim Waters. How about some Kim Waters? The name of this song is After Midnight. Let's do a little After Midnight while we get everything set up. Y'all stay tuned, stay locked in, share the broadcast. We'll be back. We're not gonna play the whole song, just gonna get everything set up. Might be about a minute, maybe 2 minutes at best. So this is Kim Waters. The name of the song is After Midnight. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. We have a gentleman that's sitting in with us right now. This gentleman right here, I'm gonna let him introduce himself because I'm not gonna do it any justice. I'm not gonna do it any justice. This young man, he's been doing so much. I'm honored, high and happy, edifying lady, and porcupine proud that he come in to hang out with us today. So if you don't mind, tell everybody who you are.
I'm Brian Whiteside, Solicitor General of Gwinnett County.
Good deal. Mr. Whiteside, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little background, a little history of yourself. Then we could go into some questions. We got quite a few people that's here that may have questions for you as well. So give us a little history.
Well, I started off as a police officer before I became a lawyer. I worked with Travis Gatson, and the current district attorney, Patsy Austin Gatson, was a mentor when I did become a lawyer, but I did 5 years as a Gary, Indiana police officer.
Okay.
I worked yes, sir. I was born in Gary, Indiana. Both my mom and dad were teachers, and my father was in the Air Force also. He's in Strategic Air Command. My mother was a 4th and 5th grade teacher in Gary, Indiana Beverage. My father was a high school teacher. Played football through high school, track. All-American football player, 1,000 yards every year, 60-yard, 100-yard dash champion, 220. That's how old I am saying yards. I'm not saying meters.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, we had to probably ran on a dirt track back then.
Come on now.
But walked on to Purdue University. I was married at an early age. My wife actually went to Purdue, walked on there, made the team, and graduated from Purdue University. From there, went to the Gary, Indiana Police Department as a patrol officer for approximately 1 year. I guess you would call it a promotion to, I was a detective and an in-progress crime, sort of like a SWAT unit. I think I did 50 some homicides my first year. In regard to that, my wife basically felt that job was too dangerous. Demanded that I go to law school.
Absolutely.
At that point,
she knew better.
Yes, sir. And she became a nurse. She used to be a teacher.
Okay.
And she became a nurse. Have one daughter. At that point, we moved to Georgia, and one of the first things I did was get on the Gwinnett County Sheriff Department. They had a tuition reimbursement program. That's where I met Travis Gatson. He is now the first Black police chief ever in the history of Gwinnett County. That's 240 years. He was my sergeant. So when I became the Solicitor General, I appointed him, and I think that's compelling that it's taken 240 years to have a minority. He had reached the rank of captain, never considered for a chief's position, even though he diligently monitored and managed the sheriff department. Excellent person. And when I won, I felt not because of his race, but because of his qualifications.
Absolutely.
And because of his qualifications, I promoted him. So we moved forward. I was a defense attorney before I was Solicitor General for 24 years. I had a win ratio in cases about 80 to 85% of my clients. If I had to go to trial, I could win 80 to 85%.
Wow. That's huge.
Yes, sir. And if I had a plea, I usually negotiated that down. I specialized a lot of times going to Fulton County because of the system there, and we won a lot of cases there. We ran in 2018 because I felt that we needed more representation, that there was not a lot of diversity, that people were underrepresented and disrespected in the community. Travis and I have been in Gwinnett County over 29 years, and I remember a compelling conversation that Travis Gatson gave me. He had been in a meeting with some of the leaders of Gwinnett County approximately maybe 15 to 10 years ago, and they made the statement that the demographics were changing, that this was going to be like South Africa.
Wow.
That we're going to be in charge, and they're going to be a minority.
Okay.
And
can you see it going in that direction?
Well, I see it going in that direction now because what happened is we won the race. And when we won the race, we actually started to represent people as they should have been represented.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so what now they're doing is trying to come back and take over offices by gerrymandering and basically trying to, illegally take over school board. And I think the law will show that they did not give notice when these issues are challenged. First of all, you're supposed to give notice to that public entity. that county. They didn't give a notice requirement in regard to that. And then statistically, you have to look, is this based upon race?
Yes.
Now, allegedly, Clint Dixon has made statements about minorities and has stated that racial issues in the school shouldn't be taught. And then he wants to take over the school board. So I would think if you were that type of civil rights attorney, you would bring those issues up where he definitively stated that he doesn't want race theories or these personnel in the school system. So you would have a challenge to him because he has authentically stated his position and then move forward. So you're going to have a racial disparity argument. In regard to that. So I think that will be compelling, but they are trying to come and take over. And what's occurring now is everybody needs to know, not just in Gwinnett County, but through the nation and the world. And I'm glad this goes out to the world because the United States, we project ourselves as an equal opportunity in a country that encompasses and welcomes all, but that's not true.
Okay. Brother Martin, let me get you to slide up a little bit. I got a message saying you sound a little low. So let me get you right there. There we go. Much better. Much better. There you go. Okay. There's you put a lot out there. You put a lot. You gave me a lot of different directions that I could go in with this conversation.
Yes, sir.
But I know that the Solicitor General is what you are.
Yes, sir.
And for my listeners that may not be clear. Explain to them exactly what that is. What is the responsibility? What exactly do you do?
Well, our primary responsibility is protecting the public and preventing harm to the public, and that's our goal, and that's our responsibility. Okay. We are charged with enforcing misdemeanor offenses. When we say misdemeanors, you can talk about DUI, vehicular homicide. Somebody accidentally hits someone and may kill them. We even do cases like that. You're talking about reckless conduct. People might have guns, fire guns in the community. We have a lot of people who fire guns in the park, fire guns in the air. We deal with that also. We also deal with family violence, battery, domestic violence, and that's something deeply that we have a concern, have dealt with. We have a victims unit that takes care of those victims, investigates those cases, and makes sure that if there is a person in danger, that they are brought in court and prosecuted, and we make recommendations according to their conduct. Okay. And by law, you have to speak to the victim to see their input also. Okay. So we can make a recommendation, but it's up to the judge. Okay. So we do those type of cases. We do family violence battery, which I said before. We do theft charges, shoplifting. We do ordinance violations, which can be simple as littering, dog bites, basic. That's a lot. Yes, sir. Keeping up. We do 50,000 cases. Management of hotels and massage parlors. Currently, right now, we have a number of hotels that haven't served our public. Okay. And they haven't protected our children the way we think they have. We're moving forward now to ask that those be converted to affordable housing. We're working with
here in Gwinnett County?
Yes, sir. We are working with the housing authorities and government officials, and we are about to cite some of these hotels where we have some that have had. We did a statistical study. Thanks again to Travis Gatson, Curtis Clemens. Yes. He now works for the district attorney. He worked for us. He ran for sheriff. They did a statistical study. Some of these hotels have had crime up to 15 to 20 years, aggravated assault, child molestation, numerous domestic fights and robberies, car thefts. And we feel that they are a danger to the community. And see, that's one point of our job, is that we here as the Solicitor General, we have a broad brush. Yes, absolutely. Where if something's a public nuisance, we can immediately take action in regard to that. So those are some of the things we do. We also do school bus cases. If you drive past, if you drive past a school bus and the sign's out, and my wife actually drove by one accidentally, so she had 250. So Brian, what are you gonna do with that? You're gonna have to pay that. Yeah, exactly. I'm not getting in trouble. And I like to tell people I've been married for 45 years. I've known my wife since I was 5 years old. Wow. That's over 50 years, because as you look at me on TV, yes, I'm 63 years old, but I don't look at
No,
well,
sir.
She's
No,
a
sir.
nurse.
Mhm.
She's a nurse, so she makes me.
She taking care of you. She taking care of you. That's
well,
what it is.
yes, you know, there's insurance policies and bills to pay.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
so
Yes,
you
sir.
have to reach a certain age, you can get the full insurance if you
Mhm.
die. You know, so
Mhm.
she's waiting for that. But she's no dummy.
She putting insurance on the insurance.
Well, remember, she made me be a lawyer.
Yes,
she
sir.
made me be a lawyer.
Mhm.
Made me go to law school.
Yes,
and,
sir.
I love my wife, but she did get a ticket.
Mhm.
And you know, she's been a great power behind me. She's a strong Black woman,
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
like my mom.
Yes,
you
sir.
know, so I know how to take orders. But Kathy,
Mhm.
she went. She said, "I didn't go around the bus." I said, "Well, isn't that a picture of your car?"
Yeah.
You know, so
Mhm.
she said, "Well, what can I do?" And I said, "Well, you know, your money is mine,
Yeah.
my money is yours.
Mhm.
Take our money and spend
You spend it.
$200 and pay your ticket."
Pay your ticket. Exactly.
So she paid her ticket. So those are the things we do. But I think a lot of things we do is number one, be highly informed about what we need to do.
Exactly.
And like I said, I spent 24 years as an attorney. I never had a law firm. A stick and border. I figured out we have a 2,000 square foot law library. I did all my cases. I interviewed people there, stay in the law library, give people discounts because I didn't have overhead.
Yeah.
So we were able to get an 80% ratio, I believe, winning cases. And I stayed in the law library and read. And so I learned, number one, that anything that's against the public interest, the Solicitor General can take action. Now, these jobs are historically like an 1800, the old West type of law. You know, we first came to Solicitor General and then came, you know, the district attorney.
Yes,
because the Solicitor General had such a broad brush and things started to change. You had to have a district attorney with the ultimate power to move forward to stop violent crime. So public nuisance. We had a Confederate monument was there. And I felt that didn't meet the community needs, possible violence, and it didn't really have a place in our community. So I filed a lawsuit and actually filed a lawsuit against the county and asked it to be removed. That put the catalyst in that we removed that statute. And people say, well, why did you do that? Because really, if you look at the Articles of Secession, that basically were a response to Abraham Lincoln. It was 33 acts in there. I could be wrong, but it specifically stated that the Black person was there for economic gain. So therefore, why would you have that? My half of my staff, I think my investigators are prior military people.
Okay.
And then we have attorneys that are prior police and military. It's an insult to them.
Yes.
That's in my opinion. Each of them may have an opinion, but when you have betrayed your country, fought against your country,
yes, sir,
and then you have a statute basically commemorating the destruction of the values of the United States, I think that needed to be removed.
Absolutely.
But I put a point that they should remove it and put it in an intellectual environment where people can discuss that. And now I don't know where it is now, but I'm glad it's removed. And we move forward with that.
I've had people say something about Stone Mountain.
Yes, sir.
And the statue, the thing that's on the side of Stone Mountain. Some people have said they would like to see it removed. Some people say that it's a historical type. What is your heart on that?
Well, my opinion about that, if they could remove it, then that would be fine with me. Because when I first came, we came here in the 80s, and we weren't really fully educated. You know, we would sit on the lawn. We had the kids. I actually worked part-time as a Stone Mountain police officer. I was full-time. The other job is, you know, deputy. I worked over there. I worked 2 jobs to get through law school.
Okay.
I worked full-time as a deputy. Then I worked part-time. I actually paid cash. I didn't take a student loan. So you sit out there, but you really didn't know the history then of Stone Mountain. So now, especially with our young people, they're more educated.
Yes.
And you have more information. Whereas I might have graduated from Purdue, and I actually had a minor in history, but the books don't foretell or tell you the truth about the development of these things. So you think you're highly educated, but you've been educated to what they want you to know.
Exactly.
So now we have a new generation with great information. It brings why this was here, that it was the Confederacy brought that up. So you look at that, I don't really think it should be there. If they could take it down, that it would be best. Or if they want to, I don't know, I'm not saying sandblast it, but really it's not representative of the United States. It was put there for a purpose.
Exactly.
To basically, you know, bring forth the values of the Confederacy, and also to basically send a torch to people who are different colors.
Exactly.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I have a question.
Okay, hold on, Badger. Let me get past a certain point. Okay, go ahead, Badger.
Now, see, the thing about that is people say, well, we can't move it. Actually, you can. So what happened with us is, see, when things become a public nuisance, you can petition that it be taken away, and that's up to that government. But they've had numerous incidents of armed protest out there. At one point last year or 2 years ago, somebody accidentally shot themselves. You had black people with rifles, and then you had white groups out there. They've had several of those. So, the contingent is there where you could legally file a motion, and that's up to a judge. But how they took the Confederate monument down in Decatur was that it had been defaced continuously.
Okay.
And there had been protests there. So legally there is some type of beginning to do that. But no, I don't support that monument being there because a great deal of if you look at the demographics, if you did a demographics study, absolutely. I think the people would speak, and they said they don't want to do it. Now you got a point that it's a private park now also. It's owned by a private company, so you may have to try to get around that. But no, I'm not really a supporter of Confederate monuments.
Exactly.
But not only that, because that I come from a military family, but the whole intent, most of these were done in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. These weren't done immediately afterwards. And a lot of the wording, it says, it definitively states that the purpose was to celebrate what they did. And I don't think there's any other country that celebrates these with monuments. You go to Germany, they don't have a swastika. Now, of course, we're more free than that, but I would just put it that no, I don't agree that should be. I love Stone Mountain.
Exactly. But my thing is, I've never seen, and we talk about this a lot. We got quite a few panelists here that want to ask you different questions. I'm gonna turn to them in just a second.
Yes, sir.
But I've never seen
way to turn here.
There you go. They're much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can straight.
Okay.
Yeah, you good.
Okay.
I've never seen anyone celebrate a loss as much as the South is.
Yeah.
They lost the they lost
0-1, a big loss.
Yes, sir.
The big O.
Exactly. And but yet and still they want to hold on to that loss and celebrate their loss. I've never seen I love sports. You ran at football.
Yes, sir.
At a very high level. You never celebrated a loss, did you?
No, but we were known going to the moon, not winning a lot of football games. So
Okay.
like we were first on the moon and last on the moon and the last to win football games to produce. So we didn't win a lot of them.
Well, see, I wasn't gonna go there.
Yes,
I wasn't gonna go there. But we got quite a few people that's on here. Badge, I think you had a question. And hope before we get there, somebody here on the feed, they said another impressive guest. Never heard of Stone Mountain until now. I think he's in Texas or he's something in another state. But Badger, what's your question? What's your question, sir?
So have you I apologize. I'm hard. I don't always remember names after the first time. Have you ever heard about the issue with the Abraham Lincoln?
What kind of issue? Now, I've heard different issues. Number one is that, he wasn't sincere to the fact that he believed that slavery should be ended or that people should be integrated. So you'd have to tell me exactly what issue you're thinking. Yeah.
I got growing up in the South, and the community I grew up in was very much about respect and honor of all human beings. So I got to read Civil War diaries from African Americans that served for the South and things like that. So I've gotten to see untold stories that are not in books. So I got curious about what exactly did Abraham Lincoln say, because when you read it in a history book, it only gives you one page saying that he freed the slaves in the South. But something didn't fit right, because a lot of Southern people hated Abraham Lincoln. So the more I dug into untold stories, found out that the South they weren't allowed to sell their crops after the Civil War ended if it was grown during the Civil War. So most Southern people lost all of their profits from tobacco, from cotton, and all these other things And there's even in the county, we have multiple evidence to back all this up. But if you get to Abraham Lincoln in his I forgot the proper terminology for what he wrote, but in essence, it's 5 pages long. I read through the whole thing, and one thing stuck out to me more than anything else. When the Union won, only the southern states lost their slaves. All of the Union and places that were controlled by Union forces in the South got to keep their slaves. He was not freeing slaves. He was only freeing the ones in the South. But everyone that was in Union that backed him up were allowed to keep them.
You might be talking about the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah.
Yes. And
wrap it up for me, Badger. Wrap it up for me, Badger.
In a nutshell, if we're going to take down all the Civil War stuff because of the slavery issue and everything else, then let's get rid of the Abraham Lincoln Monument too, because he didn't free slaves. That's a lie. Okay. He just got rid of them in the South, but all the Union people could still keep them. Okay. Why isn't that taught or talked about and discussed and things like that?
Let's get a response, Badger.
Well, I can't really state why he did that, or if that's actually confirmed, because I'd have to actually look at that issue. I know some things about the history of the slavery, but you brought up a point that I'd have to research, and I can leave my number at the end of the program, and we can speak about that. And you're always welcome to come to the solicitor's office. And we do a great deal of unconventional things, but that's something I'd have to actually study. I'll be honest with you.
And we got quite a few historians on the line as well that we can actually go to. But to my understanding, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I think that what he did was he quote unquote freed the slaves, or passed to have the slaves freed, not because of the fact that he wanted to, or it was out of the kindness or the goodness of his heart. It was a tool that he used to win that war. I think it was a tool that he used because he wasn't winning at that particular time, and he knew if he freed the slaves, they would fight for the North. Leonard, talk to me, brother. What's your heart concerning this?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from the, it's exactly what it is. It was the Emancipation Proclamation. It's clearly what's there in the Emancipation Proclamation. First of all, we have to remember that Abraham Lincoln was an American president. He wasn't just a dude. He was a president. So that alone allows him a place in history on that wall. Now, Abraham Lincoln was not an abolitionist. Abraham Lincoln was not against slavery. What he was making a decision is to cripple the economic engine of the South and to prevent the South from acquiring new slaves and freeing those that were current slaves in the South. Remember, the war was against the South and the Confederacy, not everybody else. And in doing so, they made certain agreements which destroyed a lot of Reconstruction efforts. So no one has been lied to as it relates to what, you have to look deeper. The Emancipation Proclamation is exactly what it is. It freed slaves in the South. The Union Army was attacking the Confederacy.
Yes.
So they weren't fighting on behalf of a quote United States, because there was no really United States. They were against the Confederacy that economically were benefiting off of free labor. And in order to get into the industrial age and to transition our economy from agriculture to industrialization, which was the need was for people to work in the factories up north. And also it provided options to former enslaved people to join the Union armies. So it did a lot of different things. But I think what people get caught up in that fuzzy feeling that this was some great guy that just hated slavery. That's not true. He was just a white dude that was president trying to strike a happy medium and make a decision for those that supported him on the Union side of the coin. The Union was against the Confederacy, not everybody else.
Absolutely. Now, Leonard, do you have a question for Mr. Burnside?
Man, I'm glad you're here. Man, I definitely respect those mentors and that he brought up. Miss Gaston, man, these are awesome folks that he's talking about. Mr. Travis, awesome as well. And I really enjoy their approach and
Mm-hmm.
how dedicated they are to change. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely glad that this brother is doing what he's doing, and extensive background, so he know all different sides of that particular position. When I came to Georgia, Gwinnett was completely different.
Yes.
And
Yes.
having lived in Gwinnett, I watched how Gwinnett was changing. And we
Mm-hmm.
did have a lot of things as an activist. What was the biggest thing in Gwinnett? The traffic stops. I don't know if people really remember those. And I used to live right off of Jimmy Carter. And so this was the biggest issue with the police at the time, were
Mm-hmm.
all of these roadblocks, I believe is what they called them.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes.
was the big issue for us, was the roadblocks when I lived in Gwinnett. But I'm just so glad to have met people that have won these elections and about really, like he mentioned, supporting people the way they should be supported.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so glad Danny Porter is going. I can't even put it into words of
I
having to
want to address
deal
that. I want to address
with that
that because
structure.
Hold on, Leonard.
I was going to thank you for what you say, but I'm going to tell you about those traffic stops. Rodney Harris and I were the first Black attorneys in Gwinnett County, and we fought those traffic stops. And Rodney Harris, he's now the juvenile judge.
Yes.
Rodney Harris, his first year, he did almost 30 trials. My first year, I did almost 15 to 17. Rodney had almost a 90% win ratio. And I thank you very much. And I think you remember that Patsy Austin Gasson, she was a defense attorney and an overall attorney also. And she had won a couple cases very prevalent in Gwinnett County. And so I thank you for what you're saying. The whole point about that is when Patsy came in our office, her and Travis worked in our office. I asked them to work for us. As soon as I won, I said, Travis, I need your help. Patsy, come and help. As soon as Patsy came in, because I've known Patsy almost 20 to 30 years, I asked for Travis. I said, Travis, can I speak to your wife? Because that's how we come up. We respect a man's wife. Even though I known them, I said, Travis, I want her to run for DA. And Travis said, well, okay, well, you got to know, Travis. Okay, well,
That's
all righty.
That's him.
Yeah, well,
him. Yes, sir.
Travis,
Yes, sir.
he's not only is a cop, but he's a man of God. So he said, I'm going to pray on it.
Yeah.
And if people know me, I'm sort of a direct guy, not really well polished. I said, we don't have time to pray. We got to get rid of Danny Porter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And see, about Danny. And so Patsy said, I'm going to pray. I repeated the same thing to her. And Patsy said, get out of my office. All right. Yeah. Don't you talk to me like that.
Yeah.
But then Patsy came around and she won. And you're right. This was a very discriminatory county, and they're still doing the same thing because they're mad because she came in. They're planning a way to come back. And see, we've had situations where the school board has been stalked.
Yes.
And we're the only ones that took action. When we found out that there was violence afoot, they had gone on Facebook and other social media, and people said, everybody get together, we're going to cause a disturbance. One guy literally said, we're going to cause a disturbance next week. And this is what we do. Now, that's one reason I became a cop, because I wanted to be a lawyer, but I wanted to know the different side of it. I talked to Travis. I said, Travis, talk to their police chief. They have a police chief too, the school system police. I said, Travis, give them these emails. We got the emails, gave them the emails. I said, they need to take action. They need to do x-rays. Tell them whatever you think, Travis. I don't talk to them. See, a lot of times you find out politics. He's a lawman, Travis. I used to be, but I'm an attorney. So now they go one-on-one, and Travis has more diplomatic skills than me. And Travis talks to him. And so what we get is crickets. So I said, you know what? Let's do a news conference. I get Donna McLeod. She's a very aggressive and very passionate person. We get people from every race, color, and creed to be at that news conference. And we demand that they have x-ray machines that day. We said they have a duty to act. And they say, this is what the solicitor people will tell you in life, what you can do and what you can't do. But if you study, you know what you do. And you really need to do opposite, what they want you to do. Because it's been over 600 years that we've been here. And Black women and a Black man on that school board, they have noticed that there's going to be possible harm. They had no contingency plan to set up x-rays. They had a disturbance the week before that They only had 8 officers there, and they had been warned. Our chief took immediate action. He called the sheriff. He called other agencies. We had a news conference with over 40 media there, national attention. And they had x-ray machines or wands out there that next week, thanks to our chief and thanks to the backing of Patsy Austin Gaston, who made calls behind. That's how you change your community.
Yes.
Because these people were facing potential harm. You talk about 2 black women. The head was a black man. And they never had these disturbances before.
Yes.
So they stated they were going to be violent. So that's what we do as Solicitor General. We take action. And we're not trying to be overbearing, but we make preventive notices. Another thing we did, we don't prosecute marijuana at the misdemeanor level because, number one, when we first came in, you couldn't tell the difference between hemp and marijuana. So I said it would be unconstitutional to try to prosecute someone because you couldn't get a scientific test.
Exactly.
Over 11 states then got in touch with us and started doing the same thing, and most of the counties here. So I thank you for being a former, or if you're a current Gwinnett resident, and telling that tale that Danny Porter had to go because he never had ever reached out to the community. And people say, oh, it's going to get bad because it's black. The crime is already here because they did nothing. They took no preventive actions. When black barbershops were being attacked and graffiti, we sent out a notice that if any harm came to the black community, we would ask that anyone would harm our community, they be put in custody for 12 months. Now, we can't do that, but that's up to the judge. But you know what happened? No more graffiti.
Right.
When the Muslim community came under attack in other areas throughout Georgia, we put out a notice that we weren't going to tolerate this, that our Muslim brothers and sisters basically should be free.
Yes.
And we said we would recommend, only thing we can do is recommend 12 months. But you know, you look at the history, when has a terrorist ever been told that there is going to be consequence? You tell me in the history when a prosecutor ever said, you harmed this particular person, because they always try to give you a warning.
Come on.
They always try to give you a warning. We're going to get you because they don't want you to do your job, which is to just be equal.
Yeah. We
warn them if any harm comes to our Muslim community or any defacing of property, we're going to recommend to the judge. The judge is the ultimate person who does the sentence. But by us telling them there'll be a consequence, there hadn't been any harm. They killed people in Atlanta. We put out a notice to our Asian community. Our Asian brothers and sisters.
Yes,
if any harm comes to our sisters and brothers, we will ask for 12 months again. We continuously do this because we as minorities had to be traffic stopped, like you said. You pay a bond, get out, maybe lose your job. Most people can't afford to be in jail for 5 days. So we fight hard, not only for minorities, but for everybody. And I'd like to thank you for being one of our questioning personnel, sir.
Absolutely.
And now, Raheem, I was looking at him. Now I remember his face. And when he first came on television, and he mentioned about Gwinnett and how they would proceed as it related to marijuana, right? And the first thing, I think this was right before I met Mr. Travis and Miss Patty. And I was like, who is that guy that actually came on television and said what he said, and where is Danny Porter going? Because these two issues have a serious conflict. But I was just so amazed to see that type of change was coming to Gwinnett County. Because I stayed there when there were no buses and things of that nature, and there was always a constant fight. I'm aware of the current education board, the Gwinnett School Board issue, and how it is necessary to have people in place that support the right thing and actually are trying to change what it's like, especially to be a resident of Gwinnett County. And then other counties that neighbor will start to say, hey, we need to use alternative courts. At first, Gwinnett County wasn't offering too much in terms of alternatives to us. And so we started working a lot more with DeKalb and things of that nature. And now we see where Gwinnett, because of the change in leadership, it's getting a lot better now. Exactly.
We got quite a few people actually on the phone line. We got quite a few people in the house. And I want to ask you a question, though. You sued Porter.
Oh, yes, sir. I sued Danny Porter.
Yes, sir.
Well, what happens when we came in? I'd like to give my number to anybody. 678-499-6724. 678-499-6724. Anytime anybody wants to call me, go ahead. You know, like people say, oh, don't give your number out. You're a public official. I used to do 1,000 clients a year. So let's go ahead and talk. But yeah, I sued Danny Porter. When we first came in, he did what most racists would do, and I'm not saying he's a racist. I said most racists do that. So we'd allege that people do this type of. They try to harm you, and try to think you can't succeed. But the whole point I try to make is you can't stop me from succeeding, because I've been a success since I was 5 years old. I was the king of the school at 5 years old. I married good, and luckily I had good parents. So what happened was when we came in. We had, this is why people have to say everything has to be equal. You have to treat people fair. We basically had the staff after I had beat Rosanna Zabo, and they had been with Rosanna about 15 years, and they're white, and they're loyal to me. And they found a contract that said Danny Porter and that past successor of mine, Rosanna Zabo, had signed a contract for $110,000 out of our victim fund. And so what happens with that is they were going to take $110,000 of our money to help that we help people who have been beaten, people bit by dogs, people who don't have a home. They knew all that, and he's going to convert that to his money. So my secretary, Denise, Brian, what are you going to do about that? I said, sue the SOB. You know, I said, I'm going to sue him. They're like, sue Danny Porter. I said, yes, ma'am. Sue Danny Porter.
That's unheard of, right?
Right. It's unheard. You know, so I typed up the lawsuit myself, and I filed it. And it basically was a lawsuit against the public interest. But not only that, this is why people need to be the best qualified. But the point about that, think about the factors. Number one, she signed the contract. He signed the contract. I'm not a party to that contract. Yet this guy was stealing my money. You know, a prosecutor stealing money. Come on. You know, so I filed the contract, and the commissioners gave me $110,000 back. So once again, these haters now you're 0-2. Confederate Monument down and Danny Porter down. Okay, so we got him. We got him at 0-2. So I successfully sued him, and so I actually don't want a reputation for suing people, but if you came up in the era that I came in and came from the background that I come from, you have to learn that you need to take immediate action.
Exactly.
And you can't be scared. You can't say, oh, I want to win again. I want a pension. Well, you know, I had a pension as a cop. I've done well. But you have to think about, you know, what about your kids out there? If what about your kids? If I don't hit this guy, that means we don't have money. But not only that, I need to send an affirmative message that we will not tolerate anyone trying to abuse us. See, they're trying to put you in your place.
Exactly.
So I have a bully pulpit, and I have a brain, and I have a duty not only to myself, but to project this power outward. And then when I project it outward, people come to me and say, Brian, teach me how to run for office. I have a person now, Me. I asked her to run for office or get involved in politics. She's the first Korean and Black person. She's got a Korean, I guess, mom, a Black father, and she's the first minority ever to sit in over 200 years. Now, think about that for Lilburn City Hall, a council person. So we've made a definitive impact in those ways too. But you know, my whole point is, you know, we had to sue judges too, and people talk about judges. We had to actually sue judges in Gwinnett County because we asked that they transfer cases in recorder's court to the state court so we could just have a record, because you go to a recorder's court, there's no record there. Okay, so why would a citizen come in there and not have a transcript? Because somebody can make a mistake, we can make a mistake, they can make a mistake. See, it's our duty to you as a citizen to give you the ultimate chance to prove that you're not guilty, or that if you say I made a mistake, you need to have that transcript. So when I came, we need to have things recorded by a court reporter, and we can't afford that every DUI case. So we do thousands of cases over there. So what happens? You transfer them over to the state court. The county pays for that, and we have a small budget because see, Republicans, they always say they're fiscal conservative, so they can get people to vote for them. But if you're cheap, that's why you have crime. You should have paid for good police officers. If you pay for good police officers who understand people, then you don't have that type of violence, those type of shootings, those type of traffic stops. And so, make a long story short, yes, I did sue Danny Porter. So that's the Baxter. Yes, sir. And I won.
And won.
Well, we also won against our judges. So you know, we're 0-2. So they're 0-2. So now they're 0-3 because the judges wouldn't transfer the cases over to the state court, which hurts the citizens because you don't have a record.
Yes.
And hurts us because we can't appeal something because you don't want drunk drivers out. So recently, a judge adjudicated that they had abused their power. And I think that's powerful. When you have a judge abusing their power against the prosecutor, well, what are they going to do to you? So we won that also. So now I've won a lawsuit against the Confederate Monument. I won a lawsuit against Daddy Porter. And now I've won a lawsuit against the judges. Now I might have to sue my wife for more power. Because she's the boss at home. Okay,
brother, don't. No,
I'm not going to do that.
We don't want that loss.
Because she's going to win that.
We don't want that loss.
She's going to win that.
Okay,
even the dog likes her. Even the dog likes her.
Now you said right now you're 3-0, brother. You don't want to be 3-1.
Yeah, 3-0. I'm 3-0.
Pick your fights now. Pick your fights.
Sir.
Let me get your number again. 678.
678-499-6724. And that's my cell phone. You call me anytime.
I'm actually putting it. Is it okay for me to put it on the screen?
Oh yes, sir.
Okay.
Put it on there. Yeah.
Okay. That way our people will be able to see it here and have that number. There we go. Now, we got quite a few people on the phone lines that actually I know they've been waiting, and I appreciate your patience. Rico, what's on your heart, brother? You got a question?
Yeah, man. I heard you say quite a few things that really stuck out to me that sort of let me know your true motivation and what drives you. You mentioned that about Germany not having monuments commemorating Nazis.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the first time having terrorists actually having consequences.
Yes, sir.
And quite a few more things that let me know that you really are for the vulnerable, and you have a lot of empathy for the people that can't stand the fight for themselves.
Yes, sir.
But when you said that about the terrorists and the consequences, and giving people 12 months for certain acts against Muslims and stuff like that. And so I was wondering your opinion on this, because after the George Floyd incident, I noticed we had a lot of outreach from other communities wanting to unite for justice, but they were all limited on what they were trying to do. And I always said the root, just like the root of what drives you, the root of racism, or the root of his injustice is racism. And I said, there was never really a deterrent or consequence for the practice of racism, because racism can actually impact a person's complete survival or livelihood. When it comes to a job, it comes to a loan, it even comes to being a policeman or being in the courtroom. Racism always can play a very big part. And so do you believe that there can never be a law or a crime made, a law made, or, where people are criminally prosecuted for the practice of racism? Because imagine being a police officer and you having that issue with you to where you're pulling more people over, or you're stereotyping. You have a record of prosecuting or arresting more people, and it seems like you're driving while black is being utilized. But there's no deterrent for it. You can prove it. You can see that this officer, for some reason, has an overabundance of accusations or complaints or just tickets against this certain percentage of people. Why then do you think there could ever be a law put on the books that makes that a criminal act?
Let's get a response.
Well, in regard to certain things, now if he's just stopping people, with no legal basis and they're black, then that's going to basically be a criminal act there, because you have hate crime laws now. But another point would be that if he's stopping them and it's not actually a crime, but you're having a high percentage of people being stopped merely because they're black and you're not in that demographical unit, I think that's going to be an internal issue where if someone made a complaint, it can be researched and then he may be disciplined there. But if someone is stopping somebody and you don't have a legal reason, and it's continuously happening, there has to be some type of utterance or statement when you talk about the law, because it has to be racially motivated. So you first have to find out, like it says, hey, darky, or hey, midnight, what are you doing in this district? Okay, now you got them. But if they're merely stopping people and if they can prove there's a violation, it's hard to prove a racial intent. And I try to tell people about some of the laws now that are going on. We're trying to get the voting laws changed, but it's going to be hard to show a racial intent. We know they did it, but did the governor utter, let's get these black people? So you have to take a different way. And what we do with a different way with our new chief, J.D. McClure, they make sure proper training, proper review, and they substantially, when they rate people, they look how many tickets you give up, why you give it. See, when I was a cop, they used to look at, my sergeant, and he was a Polish guy. So, well, how many disorderly conducts do you have? You had some cops always arrest people for disorderly conduct. It's hard to be disorderly with a police officer, because you're supposed to expect people don't respect you, and they can curse you. And people, the Supreme Court says a person can actually curse a police officer. Tell you to go to hell. You say, okay, you're under arrest. Go to hell, buddy. Give you the finger. People. You hear about people stopping people, and they give them, cops. Hey, you gave me the finger. That's freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So what happens is that in our country, you need some type of substantial proof that they are racist. But let me tell you something out the box. That's why you have Chief Gatson. That's why you vote in mayor local elections. If you want things to stop, you have to find out where you live. Do you live within the city limits? Because most mayors in Georgia are in the city limits. So if you want that police chief change, you have to hire that mayor, and he changes that.
Come on.
That's your law. You are the law. You're the man that can get people organized. If you had, I'm going to tell you about the elections. They have over 7,000 to 15,000 people who are in office. Registered voters in Lawrenceville. 4 years ago, only 700 people voted.
Wow.
So you're talking about 7 to 15, almost 15,000. So if you would work for a year, you would change who that chief was. We just had 2 people who were elected, the first minorities in over 200 years in Lawrenceville. And they beat those numbers. But what I'm telling you is that the only way to change things is be the boss. Then you change the laws. And that's what we did in Gwinnett. And you look how our office is operated with Chief Gatson and Patsy. And people have come aboard on all races, color, and creed. They say, I've heard about you. I want to be part of this. When you have those people, then your officers say, I want to be a part of this.
Yes.
And when they stop you, they're a part of what you feel. So now that law has changed, but your vote is the law.
Yes.
And so what happened now with Gwinnett County is people didn't come out and vote in these local elections. And so now you have these officials taking over these issues too. So I don't know if that's long and drawn out, but I hope I helped you out, sir.
Absolutely. Rico?
What I was really getting around to was, do you really think a deterrent could be created?
Yes,
because
sir.
it also affects people on jobs. Say for
Yes,
instance, if a person has a practice of hiring certain people but not want to hire black people,
Yes, sir.
that's qualified, or just the practice of racism.
Yeah, I think so.
The practice of white supremacy.
Yeah, I think so, because what happens is, what we do is always send out a newsletter, a news release.
Okay, somebody got some music playing in the background. Mute your line, everybody. Mute your line. Call us, mute your line.
Yeah, so
okay.
What I think is, if people were more proactive sending out warnings that these things won't be tolerated, because most time when you talk about employment, the only time you get a warning is in your orientation. Is okay, don't discriminate. But I would think each and every month, they have to reestablish that this is the type of company we are, and we don't tolerate. And we always put down that we won't tolerate this, and we'll take immediate action. And I think that needs to be the message from the private sector and the business sector, and also governmental agencies, especially police departments. Because when we were cops, you know, they would do diversity training and people thought it was a joke. Travis, I was sitting there and people were like, why do we have to do this? But, you know, because you're a jerk. That's why one reason you need to do it. And so
yes, sir.
If they would have sent a message, the sheriff would have sent a message and said, there will not be any tolerance of any racial discrimination on this department or any type of speech. Women, we had a black lieutenant, and a lot of people, white guys, didn't respect her because she was black. And she was a lieutenant, in the Air Force, but she was a regular deputy, and they were angry that she had made rank, but she had earned it.
Yeah.
So now you see this type of thing happening. And so we didn't have a black sergeant, I think, until 1992 in Gwinnett County. So, but they didn't send a clear message that he wouldn't be discriminated against. So I think you're right. Continuous messaging sends a notice about consequences, and that needs to be done. I think it works. It's worked for us. It really has worked for us, and stopped what I feel is violence in the community.
Good deal. We're gonna go to another phone call here. Let's go to Brother Pete. You have a question, sir? Pete, are you there?
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing, so I don't know if our honorable guest is a present solicitor prosecutor or former.
Well, I'm present. I'm present and running for re-election in 2022. So I'm the president.
In Gwinnett County.
Yes, sir. Gwinnett County. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and address the DKM audience and the listening, the panel and the listening audience. We appreciate your time. Foreclosures. I heard you say something about mortgage issues. In the full state of Georgia, we have a standing issue with what we identify as identity theft mortgage fraud. And it runs rampant in Georgia. You can print up 2 documents, go file for a dispossessory into magistrate, and you can successfully dispossess somebody out of their home. And certainly a servicer, finance company, law firm, a property management company tend to be the perpetrators of these situations. Are you aware of this issue in the back too?
Not real. I've heard somewhat about that, where people try to take over the ownership of a home, but that's more to that's more to an issue of in the magistrate court. Now, if that did occur,
I can't hear him.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm having trouble hearing. He sounds real low and far away.
I said yes. No,
you good. There you go.
Yeah, I've heard of that issue before. And I think that would be done in the magistrate court, but that issue most likely probably would be the DA if it was fraud because of the high numerical value. But something like that, if there were 2 false documents provided, it definitively would be fraud, and that I think that would be negated if you could hire an attorney to state that was a fraudulent document. So there we come into play once again with, having adequate representation and, in the courts. I'm gonna tell you what Gwinnett does now. They actually have a reset program that offers money to renters, and we are behind that now and putting that out to the public where there's so much money in Gwinnett. See, the bad thing is, it's hard getting the message out to people, social media or things like that. So what we're doing now, and I'm glad you said that. I hope you give me a call afterwards. If you can call me at my number, that's great, and we can discuss that. And I can discuss it with the district attorney and other people. But what we're trying to do now is put a message out that there's actually money that's available that you can pay for rent and for landlords out here. So what we're trying to do is get with the churches. And if what you're saying is true, I need to put that out. And we're trying to do a public service announcement in all the churches for 1 minute every 2 weeks about what's going on. And that's something I sort of heard about, how they take over someone's home, but I didn't know it was rampant. So if we can talk about that, that'd be great, sir.
Good deal. Good deal.
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to reach out to you afterwards and give you a full articulation of the subject matter.
And text me or whatever you want to do.
We go all the way back through securitization. We go all the way through the whole process. The problem is the process that they use in Georgia. Magistrate not being a court of recording is not the arena, the forum.
Good point.
To properly deal with the equity matter and certainly not a title matter. The Constitution, the state of Georgia states plainly that our title matters must be addressed in the Supreme Court. They never are. So from the Supreme Court to the appellate down through the circuits, superior state magistrate, there's a smooth track record system proven, lending towards scheme and how they run over the consumer, everyday citizen in the state of Georgia.
Good
so
deal.
Certainly with you being who you are, have the mindset that you do, and having the position that you do, not trying to ex parte you one way or the other, but definitely need you to articulate and comprehend fully that particular subject matter and the magnitude. We're dealing with grave damage that's happening to too many everyday folks. And it's high fraud, felonious actions, and it can be proven in law.
Yes, sir.
Good deal. Good deal. Now, I just for the clarity.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I need you to reintroduce the young man on the line. I don't know who he is or what's his position again.
Okay, I'm gonna allow him to do so. Sir.
Yeah, I'm Solicitor General Brian Whiteside of Gwinnett County. I'm the county Solicitor General. I enforce crimes and misdemeanors and ordinances in Gwinnett County.
Okay.
And you said you've been in Gwinnett for how long?
I've been in Gwinnett.
You've been doing that in Gwinnett for how long?
Oh, approximately about 27 years, 28 years.
And you said you're a man of color?
Yes, ma'am. I was one of the first black attorneys out of two attorneys, Rodney Harris and myself were the first black attorneys in Gwinnett. I think that's like 1995. And I was a defense attorney during that time period. I was a sheriff's deputy before that. So I've been here about 28 years.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
You were a defense attorney before that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. Okay. Good deal. Let me go on. Bishop. Good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Man, I'm blessed, brother. How you doing?
Hey, doing well, doing well. You have a question for our guest this morning?
Not particular. I'm listening to him and appreciate him, being in law enforcement. That's my background.
Yes, sir.
And what he's been doing, he said, for 20 years. So I'm listening closely to what he got going on and what his interest is. And I think Pete summed it up. And if he get with Pete after the show, and they can clear a whole lot of things up and be able to move in areas that benefit everyone. So no, I don't have any questions.
Good deal. Good deal. VP, you have a question, sir?
And the name again? I didn't get the name. What's the name?
Now, Tori, what how you gonna just jump in like that? No.
I'm sorry, I just didn't get the name. I'm sorry. Everybody else do it. But what's the name?
Lord, see.
There you Brian, Brian Whiteside. And we put my number on the screen too. It's 678-499-6724.
It's on the screen there.
Yeah. So if you need that, 678-499-6724, Gwinnett County General, Solicitor General of Gwinnett County.
Okay. Good deal. VP, you have a question?
Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you for all the service that you've done so far.
Yes, sir.
I have two questions. I don't know if they're more theories or maybe something that you heard down the pipeline. Is there, if there's a ease in the system or a law that's potentially in place to help federal prisoners obtain actual good jobs so that they're not boomeranging back to the system?
Yeah, actually, I do. Actually, we do. Patsy Austin Gatson is doing that. See, Patsy Austin Gatson, once again, is the first minority solicitor general. So now you have change. Excuse me, so that's the district attorney. I'm the solicitor general. Her husband's motioning me, hey, stop doing that. But no, she's the first Black district attorney ever in Gwinnett County. And we spoke about these issues about a couple weeks ago. And then yesterday we met with the ministers. And so they are starting a program with the district attorney's office to help people who have been incarcerated be put back on their feet. Writing skills, job skills, mental health, all those type of issues. And the best thing would be to call Patsy Gatson at 770-822-8400, 770-822-8400. Gwinnett County District Attorney. If you need restorative justice and you are looking for help, mental, physical, or just someone who actually cares, the Solicitor General, but Patsy Austin Gatson has the programs now, and she is working hard with the ministry to bring, people to be productive. And they understand, and we understand that you can be incarcerated, but you need a village to keep you going.
Yes, sir.
And that's what happens, So, but anyway, what's your second question, sir? I'm sorry.
VP?
Yes, and thank you. And also, being in law enforcement, being former law enforcement, do you think there is a way, because I know I was law enforcement in the military, which is a brotherhood, but it still ain't the same as civilian. Is there a way, and we knew who wasn't real or who shouldn't have been a part of our police force, but do you think do you think there ever will be a way where there could be a whistleblowing program for law enforcement officers to begin to weed out these ones that really don't deserve to be in there, or who are just chasing a salary, or don't have the mental capacity to even do the job correctly without, because being on the inside, if you were to tell on Johnny and everybody found out, then you become an outsider, and it almost pushes you out the job.
Yeah.
But the people around you also know that Johnny don't belong there.
I can't really say if they're. Go ahead.
But do you see something like that in the future between your law enforcement and now you being on the legal side of something like that happening?
Let's get a response.
Well, I would say that if I understand your question, would there ever be some type of program or, I guess, mission where people could reveal that someone had violated the law or their oath of office inside of a department? I think that's already taken place in a way, because you're sworn to obey the law and to never take you're in the military, never take an unlawful order. But to say there's a catalyst right now, that there's a program saying turn in officer, no. But what occurred, we met with J.D. McClure yesterday, and the big thing is the evaluations and the actual mental health of the officers. Now, he is a stickler for looking at the evaluations, making sure they go by the rules and regulations. And if there have been a lot of complaints, there are investigations. Why these citizens are complaining? Have they been validated? So that, in a way, is a self-reporting program. I think, when you talk to people who are working together all the time, to put a place in maybe a great idea. I never really thought about that. What you would do is have a confidentiality. It's just like when, let's say, you're overworked, you've got babies, and so you go confidentially, to see the counselor in your health program. So what you said is pretty good. And I think, maybe you want to call, and then we can speak to other agencies, and we meet once a month with the chiefs. And, you see a lot of dynamic change happening, like the Lawrenceville chief. We were deputies together, and Curtis Clemens and Travis Gass and I, the chief over there, Tim, he basically is trying to do dramatic changes in his department. He demands that they be ethically correct, and he's putting programs where they have people riding, psychological, I guess, experts riding with the police to make sure other people aren't harmed, and they're actually looking at the conduct of their police. So I don't know if that's to the extent we were talking about, but I think that needs to be. And I think that's a brilliant idea, because there needs to be a confidential reporting system. And I think people would report people if you had it, because we have people that are stressed in our job, and we said, well, you might want to go, go see the psychiatrist or seek some counseling. And officers continuously see that. It's stress on, I've seen bad cops. I rode with a bad cop who used to drink, and I turned him in before. And, people weren't happy that I did it. But I'm the type of person, I really don't care if you like me or not. And my father would tell me, if somebody doesn't hate you at least once a day, you're not doing your job. So I turned the guy in, and, they tried to ostracize me. And that was even better, because then I had a one-man patrol car, and I could do whatever I want. So I got burgers and fries and respond to crime. So I have a two-man patrol car.
Exactly.
So see, it always comes out best when you do right. So I think what you said is brilliant. And I'll get with our chief. And like I said, he has more personal skills than I do. And he's able to bridge those gaps that I can't. I'm a really straightforward guy, as you can see. If something has to be corrected, I just go and correct it. And so I go back to my roots as a football player. They give you the ball, you make your moves as you go till you get to the end zone.
Exactly. Yes,
sir.
Good deal. We got a lot of people that's on here, man, and I want to get around to everybody. Let me go back right now. Even before we do that, you said something about the school board. What's the situation surrounding the school board right now?
Right now, the school board, they're trying to redistrict the school board so they can have more members on the school board. In my opinion, to dilute the power of the people there. There's no historical factors that would justify that they would be added. I think 5 more people or 4 more people. You'd have like 9 people on the school board. 9. Oh, nonpartisan. They're trying to go nonpartisan also and add more people. Yeah, so maybe just nonpartisan. I'm getting more information here as I talk here. Travis is correcting me. I think he's more of a lawyer than I am, but he's probably a better one anyway. But the whole point about that is they're trying to make it nonpartisan, because they feel what happens. See, this is what happens in the minority communities. People come out. Let's say you have a big gun, a high flying supersonic aircraft like Stacey Abrams. You're going to come out and vote. Okay. And then you go home, but you don't vote in the nonpartisan elections, but you don't vote for your judges. So historically, Republicans vote for the judges and they vote for local candidates. That's why your country you don't have any power. So they have figured out that, okay, these minorities, they don't come out nonpartisan because they're like, oh, I'm gonna vote for Biden. Okay, now I'm going home, go through the drive-through, and now they remain in power. Look at Gwinnett County now. So that's what's happening with the school board. They're trying to dilute the power, and people are coming to these school meetings, and they're purposely taking off their masks, causing disturbances to shut down the board meetings. And I tell people, if you aren't going to the board meeting, something's wrong, because see, me, I'm 63 years old, and I'm trying to wonder why I'm still paying taxes, and my kids have been out of my house for 5 years, and they've been out of school. So it's a lot of things you need to be going to these board meetings, going to commissioner meetings and things like that. So that's what's happening with the school board. They're looking at total destruction. These people have been stalked. There are threats to stalk them. We put out a notice. We talk about the school board. We saw something on Facebook about 3 weeks ago, and it said, "Why don't we need to hire somebody professional to follow them around?" I saw this. It said we need to hire somebody who's a professional, follow them around to change their mind. That'll make them change their mind. Well, if you aren't hiring somebody to see if they are doing their job or stealing funds, that possibly might be legal. But to the purpose of harassing someone, that's stalking.
Yes.
We sent a notice about that out. And I was congratulated by some of the school board members that people aren't coming by their homes as they did before. We told them you're going to go to jail for 12 months if the judge gives it to you.
Yeah.
Because we don't incarcerate people. We actually do diversion programs so they're not incarcerated and you can take a class. But when violence is afoot, whether you're white, black, or even animals, we send out a notice that you can't beat your dog and you can't chain your dog up when it's 100 degrees. So we're darn sure going to send something out that you're not going to kill black women, white women, and there's white people on the board too, and you're not going to stalk these people. So that's what's happened to the school board. They're still being threatened by emails, and they are trying to dilute their power, which goes against the concept of America. Here we go again, confederacies. So there's a new Confederacy because it's not one man, one vote.
Yes.
It's that we're going to go ahead and take control of you. So we have a new Confederacy trying to take control of Gwinnett County.
Brother, you scared me there for a second. When you said animals, I thought you were going to tell me you were arresting animals too. I could,
No. Wait, I'm a dog lover.
Oh, okay. Okay. Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? Leonard, you there? Unmute your line, Leonard. Unmute your line, Leonard. Badger, while we're waiting on Leonard, you have another question?
Man, the wealth of knowledge is crazy. I'm definitely going to be calling you at some point, probably today, because I got quite a few questions that maybe be able to help us in the county I live in, because it's horrible. The people that are listening, I really, really hope that they're paying attention to what you're saying, because we need people like you who, were motivated, who went and got the education. You're in the system and you're helping the actual community. You're not just putting money in your pocket. You're doing what your job says is supposed to do. And there's too many counties and states all over the place that aren't like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that because see what's happening now. I'm running 2022, and I have an opponent that actually worked for Danny Porter.
Wow.
And that person worked for Patsy Austin Gatson for a short time, and that's the first Black district attorney ever. And she left that office, and Republicans are now financing her. You could do open records on her files, and you would see who's the same attorneys and other people are trying to finance her. So they're trying to get their way back. And she worked for Danny Porter for 5 years. Nobody said anything when they took $110,000 from me, and I published this in the paper. It was in the paper. She didn't speak up and say, hey, that's wrong. And people talk about advocating for victims. You need to advocate for your citizens. And we really advocate for the world, because we have to show, number one, that these things can't occur here. And the whole point about that is these people are trying to come back, and they're trying to come back.
Hold on, everybody mute your line. We got somebody with a train or something in your background. Callers, mute your line. We certainly don't want to have that sound in our background. So mute your line for me, please. Okay.
But I'll leave it at that. People are trying to come back. They're trying to take over the school board. They're trying to take over the commissioner's office, and they're trying to take over the solicitor's office. That's not going to happen because we have people like you and other people out there that know the truth. But I keep trying to tell people, you've got to go to the ballot boxes. How many people knew? And like a couple of you guys see me on TV, and we always try to put our message out there because we knew these people were going to come back at us because we actually care about people. Affordable housing. We're turning extended stays into affordable housing. We're doing things that need to be done. So what happens is we need citizens to stop these people from coming back in, because they're grabbing everything. In Texas, they're grabbing the vote.
Yes,
they're doing things in Georgia. It was over 9 to 12 states that changed their whole voting laws merely because we happen to win an election, because that's your right. But so they have tampered with the voting laws, try to make it hard. Like they said, you can't, if it's 100 degrees, you can't even have water. Another thing I did was I told the governor that I'm not going to enforce that law because that's a misdemeanor. That says that if you're in line, you can't even pass a snack of water. I said, I'm not going to do that. I filed a federal lawsuit against Governor Kemp. Here we go again, filing lawsuits again. Mr. Whiteside always file lawsuits. Mr. Whiteside's 3-0 though. He's going to be 4-0.
Exactly.
He's going to be 4-0. I'm going to beat Kemp. And they said that you couldn't have water or snacks in line. I said, there's no criminal intent for that. So I'm waiting for that lawsuit. Also, I amended that law. My lawsuit to also say that they couldn't take over the election boards, and they're trying to take over the election boards like they did Fulton County. And people were saying, well, you can't do it. Well, give me a call, because I've got the law, and the law states that local people vote for local officials. So But go ahead with another question, sir.
Okay. Hold on. We got actually. Hold on. We got another
I was
caller.
trying to get to
Hold on.
Johnny.
Hold on. Patrick, hold on. We got another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? I think it's Annette. Annette, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
I am perfect, even in Los Angeles, California. Perfect.
Good deal. Good deal. I know you have a question this morning. What's your question?
Well, the question is, the people are the power. Hi, Brian Whiteside. The people are the power.
Yes, ma'am.
And oftentimes we always want to pity, Republicans against Democrats. We must stop that. Whatever the people need, let's get it done. And I'll tell you, Gwinnett is an amazing county. Grew up my kids, that's where I started, Well, I moved from DeKalb to Gwinnett. But when I went to raise my kids, I raised my kids in Gwinnett. So the Republicans were in charge in Gwinnett, and Gwinnett was a stellar district. Let's just care about stellar districts. I care about people. I love Brian Whiteside because I just like him. I mean, I like his work ethic. I like, where he's come from, his parents, his education and everything. But we're not doing anything about foreclosures in Georgia. Banks are taking over. You can't even get to the district attorney's office. You can get to the solicitor's office unless you talk to Brian Whiteside. I mean, government agencies have just become where citizens are being left out. So we just have to have that utilitarian concept to do the best for the majority of people and stop, pitting Democrat against Republican. It doesn't make any sense to me because the people are just trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. They're trying to do their best to even navigate through government systems, which are very hard. So thank you, Raheem, for all that you do.
Praise God.
But we got to stop, people taking these homes away, and as far as leadership, I mean, the Republicans helped make Gwinnett what it is. So now what everybody has to do is the people have to hold everybody accountable and responsible and show the people how they can govern themselves.
Let's get a response.
Well, I'd like to respond, and I'm glad you said that because I formed a group called 316 United Nations Gwinnett. This occurred after the Asian community was shot in the Atlanta area, and from the response on that, we had put out warnings before in our county, 2 warnings that we wouldn't let any harm come to our Asian community when Trump started saying Asian flu. So we had no fatalities, and we also made a statement that we were armed. Our office is armed. And I think we had said that before with the Muslim community that, we said that in the newspaper, and we weren't trying to be boisterous, but I think we had to send a clear message there because I talked to my chief. I said, they're going to kill somebody when that happened about that. And when we talk about working with the Republicans, we actually do work with the Republicans. I reach out with them all the time. And we give most of the time, we've given written notice and we talk to a great deal of people because most of our mayors some of them are nonpartisan, but they vote Republican. You can check their record. And we formed this 316 United Nations. And if you actually, we'll try to forward you some pictures if you can call us or give us an email. We have, yesterday, I think we had approximately 40 or 50 people from all walks of life, Muslim, Indian, Bangladesh, Black, white, Republicans. They were there because they're actually concerned about our community. The Korean community is there. Our Muslim community, our Black community, Donna McLeod was there. We had our school board members there because our message is we can't do this unless we work together.
Yes, absolutely.
And some of the Republicans are mad in Gwinnett that they're doing that because it portrays them against their creed as the one man, one vote. The lieutenant governor may be primary in stopping this issue. And I don't have anything against Governor Kemp because he's a politician, and I actually like Governor Kemp. But what happens is he's doing things that are hurting people, and he's supporting these systems, especially in regard to the vote. Now, if you meet the guy, the thing about it, he's a congenial person. But like Maya Angelou says, when a person shows you something, you need to take action.
Exactly.
And so the Republicans have shown themselves we try to get along because nobody took action against them. But now the people who are doing it are Republican. They're, elected officials. They're not your Republican next door. I mean, they're not the Republicans on my group of 316, but we have to be definitive that we have to fight any illegality immediately. See, what I try to tell people, anything that's illegal, you have to substantially take a response.
Exactly.
Because if you don't, it's going to lead to something else. You have to,
But Brian, look at this. Look at this, right?
Hurry up. I got a few more people I want to get to before we got here.
I did testimony for the 202 bill, right? And let me tell you this, Donna McLeod, she was nowhere even as a representative to say anything about it. I spent time. As a matter of fact, some of my ideas actually worked. So nobody's trying to stop people from having water. If you really look at the bill, because I helped, write some of that. Okay. So nobody was trying to suppress, because I was on the ballot in 2020 for United States Senate. So I don't feel that way, right? Look, we've had our voting rights for such a long time. Nobody's trying to take voting rights away. We've already had on the books that you can't campaign with.
Annette, we know each other. Yeah, you're a wonderful person. I think we know each other.
We've already had those books on the law. So you know what? I am such a fair person. I've been in politics for such a long time, never in elected office. But I'll tell you, when those hearings were going on, you didn't see anybody. I didn't see Donna McLeod. I might have saw Donna McLeod maybe the last day.
Okay.
And
wrap it up for me,
sister. She did, and some of the other Democratic legislators, they just huffed and puffed. They never went to say, well, hey, let's change the language to this. Let's change the language to that.
Okay. And that I gotta keep it more. Hold on, and that I got 3 or 4 people. I want to get to everybody before we get out here. You only got a few more minutes.
Bye.
You don't have to hang up.
I love you.
No,
I love you, Brian.
No, sis, you don't have to hang up. You ain't gotta hang up. Stay with us. You want to respond to what she said?
I just would tell you, give me a call as we started to speak, and I saw your name there. I think we know each other. Give me a call, because I'm always available. We can go for lunch, and I'll eat a salad because, once here we go again, I'm under control. But give me a call. I mean, I'm telling everybody, give me a call, because you are the power, and we need you to tell me what we need. I just learned a lesson about the mortgages. I mean, I don't know everything, but now I know one more thing.
Exactly. Badger, I think.
Brian, but I brought that to you 3 years ago. I brought that to you.
Hold on, sis. Badger, you had another question?
Okay.
Yeah, the question that I was trying to hint to or get to was, I've made the comment many times that there are laws out there to protect every single person out here. We just don't know them, or we don't have someone like him that has studied it enough and actually will put them into practice. So what is your standpoint on the amount of laws that are in place that if people learn how to use them, this whole country will change?
I think you make a good point. We met with the ministers yesterday, Poplar Hill Baptist Church, and Patsy Austin Gasson was there, and the police chief was there, and I was there, and Travis is there, and they brought that whole point up that really people don't know the laws that are out there. And what I talked to Travis about today, we're going to try to do a public service announcements on TV, but actually at the churches and other places where people can, know those laws, and then, that may deter harm to other people. And the big thing is, not only knowing the law, but making a strong reference to those laws and the consequences that occur after that. That's why, we need people to vote. And you need to call me for further conversation, because I've learned the more we talk, the more I learn.
Yes.
And then I can put those suggestions into play. So, because I don't know everything. And I tell you, when you're busy, you almost become a dimensional in your job. I just learned more about these mortgages, and we may be able to take action on that, because, at one point, if these people were doing that, it's against the public good. So I have to figure out if this is a felony or misdemeanor, but then I can convey it to our district attorney, who substantially is always looking to empower people especially when it comes to families and children, because we have a crisis now. And she said we have a crisis with our children, that we have people, got a kid 16 years old that died, people carrying guns. So mortgages are important, that people stay in their homes. But what you said is good, and if you can call me later, I'd like to expound upon that.
Good deal. Leonard, any questions, Leonard?
Question: how does he feel about the prosecution of police officers who are accused of misconduct, and also the grand jury process for making those decisions to formally go to trial?
Well, if somebody does wrong, it's a given. If you have the evidence, they have to be prosecuted, and that's why they hire an attorney to prove otherwise. Now, the grand jury system in Georgia, I know what you mean. What you mean is that they can come in to the grand jury and go ahead and testify, where the average citizen doesn't testify. And I thought there were some revisions to that. I have to, review that again. But I think you're talking about where you can come in as a certified officer and you speak to the grand jury, where if another person is going to get indicted, that basically they just go ahead and indict you. So, I would think personally that should change. I would think that should change. There's a couple other things I think it would change too. And I was just thinking about that. I was watching the trial in Wisconsin, and numerically, most states give the prosecutor 2 closing arguments. I don't know if people know that. Like you have your defense attorney. When they close, you only have 1 argument. One closing argument. Of course, everybody has 1 opening argument, but you get 2 closing, and that seems to be totally unfair. But see, that's how the laws are. They say it's a law, but we need to change that. And the point about that, when I used to be a defense attorney, I would say, okay, they're coming again. They're coming again, because I only get 1.
Yeah.
And now you see how unlawful, how immoral it is. And here's my client. I put my hands on that client's shoulder, and I say, that's an extra $5,000 for that. No, just kidding. And I would say, this woman is not guilty. They haven't proved their case. So they need a second chance. Is that fair? And 95% of the time they'd be found not guilty. Good. But you're right. There needs to be equity. So that's not equitable. So that's another thing we need to look at and take that before the commissioners.
Exactly. We over time right now. We're supposed to end at 10 o'clock, but I want to touch a few more people. Give me your very quick version of your question, Brother Pete. Pete, you there?
I actually don't have. Yeah, I'm Debbie, but I actually don't have another question. I just thank the gentleman for his time, and God say the same. We'll be speaking very soon.
Good. Thank you, man. Just don't forget, vote for Brian Whiteside 2022 May.
Absolutely. Bishop, another question?
No, man, I've just been enjoying the conversation, gaining a wealth of knowledge, and as to what he's doing, what he's all about.
Yes, sir.
And I really appreciate it. Glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Rico?
Yeah, I'm saying here, man. I mean, I'm calling from an entirely different state, so I don't have any personal stake in what's going on in Gwinnett County or Georgia. But I appreciate the wealth of information. It's very eye-opening, revealing. We get on this platform a lot and we talk about different things that need to have a change. And he brought that up. Some he brought up without being mentioned, but having that platform for. You think about the judicial system, and some people get caught up in the judicial system. It's so much harder for them to get out.
Yes, sir.
And some people, luckily, they do get out. They get pardoned, or they get somebody like the Innocence Project that comes in. But having that path for people to leak videos that the police don't want to leak, that path for police to go and tell on other cops that may have had somebody incarcerated wrongly or paying them for a murder that they didn't commit when they turn the body cameras off. Having that pathway is refreshing to hear somebody in the judicial system say that's something that's brilliant, but at the same time it's revealing to see that it hasn't already been addressed. Because these are human beings in positions that have personal emotions that, they have to try not to involve in the job. So I think it's refreshing to hear
that, you know, you've been in a position like this, addressing those issues that need to be addressed. So those changes, those flaws, and also setting an example of how people do need to get involved. They need to vote. And
Yes,
I
sir.
do appreciate that you really didn't get into the political side of it. You didn't start really throwing out Democrat and Republican or this and that, but you did let everybody know they need to get involved with not only the judicial system, but the school boards.
Yes,
Exactly.
Sir. Yes, sir.
You hit all the bases. So I really appreciate that. It can be utilized by people across the nation.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Mr. Brian.
Yes, sir.
In your closing, sir, anything you want to say to the listening audience? We broadcast right now 58 countries, and so you know the floor is yours.
Well, only thing I can say is thank you for this opportunity. It was a learning experience, first of all, and I could only tell people, you know, keep the faith. But the point about that is you need to vote. And if you're not voting in local elections, if you're not informing yourself, you're not doing your duty as to your children or your citizens because what's going to happen? I'm 63. And we're still saying we shall overcome. And we should have overcome by now. And we're talking about monuments and those type of things. That it's a given that you should not have anything that basically doesn't represent what you or your family is about. And we have to say, you're important. I want to send a message that you actually are the government.
Yes, sir.
And you're important. I have to say that our Democratic Party, we need to do better also. Because when I came up, we were the party of the people. And we had unions, we had jobs, we had pensions, and some of those things are gone. But it's up to the citizens to start putting these things in action. With the infrastructure bill, you need to look why and how are people going to be hired, who's getting those jobs, and make sure people are paid and it goes to the proper people. And you need to be asking, when they have these committees, you need to go out and, you know, put your opinion out. When they have forums, go out, see what's in the newspaper, you know, get a cup of coffee, you know, put some caffeine, whatever you want to do. If you got a jog in place, take take an aspirin, you know, for your sore back. Get out, because see, a lot of politicians, they depend on only one or two people coming out.
Yes.
If 10 people come out to every meeting, they're scared because that represents a whole neighborhood. And, you know, the power is in the people, because, you know, I'm 63. I came up during the 70s, and it was like, hey, brother, how you doing? You walking out here at midnight in Chicago, and Gary, like the chief of Chicago, and Gary, he said, hey, brother, we got some problems out here because now brothers are shooting each other.
Yes, exactly.
And back then it was like, you pick up a stranger. So we have to look at a lot of things in a society. Have they pitted things against us to make us against us? And so we have to pull together all race, colors, and creeds. And that's what I'm about. Republicans, and like Miss Baker, you know, I really like her. She's a Republican, and she'll call me. But we have to do better for our children.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I looked over my phone list who's still on the line. We still have Annette still on the line as well. You have anything quickly, Annette, that you'd like to say before we get out of here?
Yes. You know what? I just don't want the judicial system to keep monetizing. I think when the judicial system monetizes, when probation monetizes, when the solicitor's office monetizes, sometimes the solicitor's office has pre-filings that nobody's really said that they want to prosecute anybody, but the solicitor's office ends up prosecuting people for nothing. And I'm just tired of the monetization. And I think if we look at how judicial circuits monetize for profit and take that profit out, and really
let me address that.
Hold on. Annette, I said quickly, Annette. I said quickly.
Let me address that, Annette. That's not true about the solicitor's office. When we started in the solicitor's office, when they had a diversion under the past administrator of the solicitor for diversion cases, it meant taking a class instead of getting arrested or anything like that. They charged $500 plus fees and fines. I took that and said, our attorneys are to ask, can you afford $50? And if somebody says yes, they can pay 50, then they say, okay, by the way, can you afford $0? It's on our policy right now that it's either $50 or $0. We went from $50 to $500 to $0 for a diversion case. We also, for probation, we demanded the probation be open on Saturdays. We make no profit whatsoever. And I can statistically prove that. You can do open records and you will get those emails. So I would say, and I love you to death, but when you make an accusation against me, you better have some proof because I'm known to sue people. Nobody defames me.
No,
I want you to listen. Hear me out.
Probation is
Hear me
private
out.
now. The courts are giving probation over to private companies.
Give me a call, Annette. We'll talk about
Okay.
it. Give me a call. Give me a call. Okay, you know we care about each other. Call me. Thank you.
Good deal. Now, committee to re-elect Mr. Brian Whiteside.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about this, sir.
Well, we have a committee to re-elect me. My election is in May 2024. We don't know the exact date. 2022. I'm sorry, 2022. And I'm asking people to support me, and I'm running on my record. I think I'm the best qualified person that can represent you. I've represented you. I've done things that are 25th century. We're moving forward for affordable housing. We have put people in places. Not only that, we have built a village. We have built a fence to prevent racism. We have built a fence to have housing. We have built a fence to have people who get out of prison who are represented. But we've also built a fence to protect people. We've asked Walmart to take action to have more lighting to protect our females. The biggest victim sometimes is a victim who comes into Walmart. We've asked them to take more lighting, more securities. We've asked the home extended stay hotels to start protecting our children, that they can't have crime afoot, that they need to take protective measures. Some of those hotels have hired security guards, but now we're moving to the point if they've had crime in the recent year or so, we're asking that they have a different business model. They become affordable housing. We're one of the first people in the country, the first prosecutor in the country to ask that people be put in affordable housing. And that's another point. Why is everything in Gwinnett County $330,000 when the demographics change? Condos, yes, they go high at some points, but you look statistically at what's occurring. This is not a place for people to live, whether they're white or black, because just because you can pay a $300,000 mortgage doesn't mean you can afford it. You're paying 40% of your income when you should be saving that money. There are no more pensions in America. They have given us 401ks where they get benefits from that, and somehow you have to fund yourself for the rest of your years. So you look at everything I've done. It's not only intellectual, it's bold, it's powerful, and it's ultimately to protect you in our county, but it reaches past our county. It reaches toward the United States.
Yes, sir.
So thank you.
Absolutely. I want to tell you, brother, thank you. And I got this thing on the broadcast. I never tell anybody who to vote for. I never tell anybody who to vote for, but I will tell you it's who I'm voting for. I live here in Gwinnett County, and I'm not gonna call a name, but the person I'm voting for is sitting to my left right now. The person that I'm voting for is definitely sitting to my left. You make your own decision. I'm sold. I'm done. That's it. Brother, appreciate you.
Yes,
thank you for taking the time. Come on, hanging out with us, man. You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Who that laughing? Who that?
That's Annette Davis Jackson.
Oh,
that was good. That was good.
Good
that
deal.
was good.
Good deal. Well, listen, we're going to get out of here, man. Huh? Real quick, Landon, we got to go. We overtime already. We 13 minutes over. I done held this brother hostage long enough. He going to mess around and have some paperwork on me. He gonna put some paperwork on me now. We can't have that now. But listen,
sometimes he needs to be held hostage.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
Oh Lord.
Annette. Okay.
I love you, Brian.
Give me a call. Give me a call.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Lord Jesus. I don't know what's going on around here right now. But listen, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And let me get to this part here. Rico, are you still with us? Rico, you still there?
Yep, I'm right here.
What's going on at 3 o'clock
I'm
today,
right
sir?
here.
What's going on at 3 o'clock today, sir?
If you missed today's show and would like to see the replay in its entirety, you can tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.dklmediagroup.com.
Good deal. Brother Pete, you with us? Brother Pete, you there?
Yes, sir.
Pray us out, sir.
Father God, we thank you, God, for the activity of our mind and limbs, a reasonable portion of health and strength. We thank you for waking us up this morning. We thank you for the broadcast. We ask that you would bless everyone as they go their separate ways. Keep us safe until we meet again. And we'll give you all the glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Been a great broadcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And more than that, I want to thank you for allowing DKM Media Group and associates to be a part of your day. It is now 10:14. You're about to exit the Morning Glow. But before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. That we shine some of this light on you from the Morning Glow. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. Get an opportunity, give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. You have a great day. Love you, stay blessed, and take care of each other.